Friends, if you're looking for real old school laughs, you're in for a treat because we've got them right here. Flip City Magazine. Remember Mad Magazine? Then it went woke? Well, don't worry. Flip City has no chance of going woke. That's right. 4 times a year, you'll get an actual printed magazine full of jokes, stories, comics, and more, all about today's pop culture, entertainment, and woke politics. Flip City takes terrible entertainment trends we love to hate with hilarious parodies of Lord of the Rings, Stranger Things, The Walking Dead, Star Trek, Hunters, and more. Trust me when I say there is nothing else like Flip City on the market. So subscribe today. It will be delivered in print, or you can even get it digitally if you're one of those wacky Zoomers. Either way, follow our link and sign up today, and if you put in midnight, you get an extra 10% off. Check out Flip City Magazine today. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Midnight's Edge in the Morning. It is Monday. We are here. The Golden Globes happened and nobody cared. So if the Golden Globes happen and nobody watches, does anybody really get a Golden Globe? That is the question. Andre,
the answer is, was Ricky Gervais there? Because only
he won a Golden Globe, but he wasn't there.
Yeah.
But since you're foreign, I thought I'd ask you, since it is the foreign press.
Yeah. Well, the foreign press don't speak for the rest of us foreigners.
All right. Well, that's Andre this morning. That's what he says. We also have Six with us today. How are you doing, Six?
Doing very well. Very well. 250K. Super excited. Yes. Congratulations.
Thank you. Also with us, a Canadian script doctor. How are you doing?
I'm staying warm. I'm staying warm. Glad to be here.
Speaking of the Golden Globes, we have Chris Gore with us here, the man, the myth, the legend with the tuxedo.
I slept in my tuxedo.
I'm not surprised.
I slept in it. I'm not joking. I just went right to bed. Thing was long. What can I say?
You're like probably one of the few people who watched it sounds like. But we also have with us Culture Casino. How you doing? You probably have more people watching you, Chris, than the actual program.
Yeah, I think awesome. So. I did not sleep in my tuxedo.
So. Nice.
I have heard that you are so hairy, it is like a hair tuxedo.
Okay, fair enough.
That's true.
I mean, yeah. I'm going to tell you right now, when I jump in a pool, it does not look like I'm wearing a sweater.
I've seen him with a shirt off. He's not as hairy as he claims.
No, not there.
But if he keeps growing
the hair on your legs,
we'll have a shirt.
That's right. The
beard rub the hair on your legs.
And no, I'm good.
It's weird.
Can we stop focusing on my follicles?
Yeah, it's just the way it is. You have hairy everything.
You brought it up.
Well, wasn't that you that jumped in that pro bass shop tank?
No,
I was pretty sure it looked just like you.
That was John Rocha, I think.
Oh, that was John Rocha.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Fairly. Well, that would explain a lot.
He certainly has a high standing in the community today.
Has he ever?
You know what? Let's just finish the
like. The only reason I know who he is
talking about John
is because he's been on like Collider and stuff like that here and there. Otherwise, yeah.
That's the only thing I know from. But let's.
Otherwise, he's kind of a failed actor.
Introductions. Anyway. Then I'm sure we can get.
We're done. I already introduced everybody. I don't think I forgot anybody.
We also have to introduce the audience.
Yes, we have Duck Nation here, who's been here for 30 months. Thank you for that, Duck Nation. Dr. Longdongler sending in a super sticker. He hits a thumbs up, probably. Hit that thumbs up if you haven't already. It is indeed a thumbs up. We appreciate that, Dr. Longdongler. We got Tomax sending in. Whoop.
Sorry.
Big Daddy MRI's been here for 31 months. Yeah, that's all right. I forgot I missed a few from the beginning. Nick Weiser's been here for 32 months.
Okay, go ahead.
He just became a member, not 32 months. He's in the 32 flavors of Nick Weiser. I ain't awake yet, kids. I've been sick all weekend. All right. Anyway, thank you, Nick, for becoming a member again. And what else we got? Hyperguyver 2 says Disgrace Randolph is upset Miyazaki beat Spider-Verse at the Golden Globes. Tom, cue the music. Well, I wish I was a little bit more prepared here, but it takes me a second, I guess, to get over here. Where's my button?
So, what kind of dumb shit did Grace say this week?
Well, she clearly said that Spider-Verse should have won a Golden Globe. It's a fucking sequel, dude. Who cares? Speaking of not caring much, we have Paul Chato just showing up willy-nilly when he decides to.
I was on the crapper.
You get like 100,000 subscribers and you all of a sudden think your shit don't stink.
Oh no, it's stinky. The fan is on, but
well, good for your wife.
Something's going on in the plumbing downstairs, and
ouch!
I just couldn't get here in time. I'm sure all the listeners out there are really happy I told them.
Yes, they are.
That's the information.
But I can tell you, my what I did let loose was better than anything.
All right, let's move on.
Did.
Well, after that regularity report,
exactly. Yeah, let's move on from that. Speaking of,
push out some more of these supers.
Yeah, let's push out one more here where Penny says, "Tom, get well, y'all."
Out.
Thank you. Speaking of, as a member for 3 months, I appreciate that, Penny. Thank you. But speaking of the Golden Globes, real quick, let's. Do you want to start there, Andre? Or do you want to?
Yeah, let's talk for the Golden Globes.
Since we got Mr. Gore here already.
Yeah, we have to get it while he still remembers, since he's still in
right. Well,
yeah.
While he's still in his tux.
There were a lot of upsets. And a lot of unexpected. I mean, I'll put it quite plainly. White people did very good. White people did very well, which is very weird to point out because it's kind of unexpected these days. It's like really a lot of movies with I mean, look, it was very diverse, but it was I expected a lot of movies to lose simply because they weren't diverse, and that wasn't the case. If that's it's a weird way of putting it, but there were upsets. You pointed out Boy and the Heron beat Spider-Verse in animated. I thought that was huge. And Miyazaki didn't even show up. I'm sure he didn't think he would win, or anyone representing Boy and the Heron. So that's a huge surprise. And another big surprise and the biggest missed opportunity of the Globes last night. Ricky Gervais won for stand-up comedy special. Had he won and been able to give a speech, we did a watch party on the Film Threat YouTube channel, which you're welcome to go revisit. And we were playing clips of Ricky Gervais from previous years, and we're reminded by how great he was, how the jokes resonated to today. They really were evergreens. And Joe Coy was just not great. He was a very safe choice, right? Diverse comedian, milquetoast comedy, nothing off the rails, nothing too political, although he did mention in reference to Killers of the Flower Moon that white people steal everything. It's like, okay, yes, we're punching back. We'll take it. We don't mind. I don't care. It doesn't bother me. If it's a funny joke, it wasn't very funny. You could make way funnier jokes about white people, I guess. But it was a fairly apolitical award show. Another shock. None of the speeches were simply, thanking, being grateful and thankful. So it was strange. The only speech that got a little political was the woman who won for Killers of the Flower Moon, Lily Gladstone.
Yeah, she's wokeified as hell.
Well, but considering the subject matter of the
movie, that's why I was going to just say, I'm sorry, Chris. I want to say that joke about the movie, I think that diminutizes the movie's story as a whole, because a lot of people are dismissive of the story because of that, right? They look at it, they say, oh, it's just another white man bad story. It's like, no, if you actually sit down and watch the movie, it's much more complicated than that, actually.
It's complicated.
I don't like people,
but it's also one of those things where I look at a movie like that, I think I would rather see a really good documentary about what really happened rather than a 3.5 hour long Martin Scorsese film. Even though I love Scorsese, I have a bias toward Scorsese.
I do too. So that's the problem here.
Her speech was the only one that kind of went that way. So it was, I think what they did was they really pivoted hard from last year's show where, what's his name? Gerard. Please help me here on this. Gerard, is it Carmichael? He's an actor.
Gerard Butler.
That's the only Gerard I know.
No, it was the other comic who sucked.
Oh shit, that's not going to narrow it down.
I don't remember him because he wasn't very impactful.
Gerard Carmichael. It was Gerard Carmichael. He really got political. Remember, he sat down and basically was like, "They only picked me because I'm black," and he did this. Whole. It was unfunny. It was a downer for the evening. It was.
Eddie Murphy did that back in like '87.
It's this whole. He did a whole thing about race and made the entire thing also about himself. How he was almost kind of sad that he got picked, but they offered him a lot of money. So he did it. Do you remember? This was his speech. And it was like, it was embarrassing.
I didn't watch it.
Just got Joe Coy. And Joe Coy, I'm familiar with his stand-up. I think he's very funny. I think he played it safe. He did play it safe, which is totally fine, I think. But I think that was the directive when you look at the evening. But we did an entire watch party with myself, Alan, as Gary from Nerdrotic, a bunch of others, Kira, Lynn, you might know who she is.
It's Carol, and she'll kill you for saying that.
Kira, but Kara was in the chat. Anyways, so we were just commenting and goofing on it, and it was, there just weren't any. Here's the thing: they didn't make any big mistakes. There weren't any. No one got slapped or whatever. Just only, I mean, a scant few political mentions, but for the most part, 90+%.
Chris, last year, when I was on the panel, we commented on how few actors were going political, and we thought that they read the riot act to just shut up about stuff. So it looks like they duplicated that this year.
Yeah, but they got a comedian who would play ball. And look, no one can take anything away from Joe Coy. I mean, he has comedy specials. I think he's very funny. He talks about his family a lot. He didn't make it all about him.
He died at the. I mean, I've never seen him. He didn't seem to have that survival instinct of any good stand-up that finds a way to turn things around.
Yes, he did not. He didn't offend, but he didn't swing for the fences either and fail. He just did the.
When you're following Gervais, you got to do something.
Well, you know what I would have done if the award shows couldn't find a host, and apparently they dug through a whole bunch of people who turned them all down, rightfully and smartly. What they needed to do was just go sideways and say, ladies and gentlemen, we could not find a host for this evening. No entertainment person. So we just have a programmer from Silicon Valley who's just going to MC and read things and just make it a meta evening.
Well, and I
got you one better. First, they announced the safest, boringest thing that you could possibly imagine, just to get all of the stars to show up and feel safe. And then last minute, oh wait, sorry, this safe host, he had a cold, but that's okay. He just signed out this morning. But we were able to get a last minute replacement for all of you who showed up here. We welcome Ricky Gervais.
They will never do that, Andre.
Oh no,
never.
They should though, because
they won't. He didn't even show up because he knew goddamn well that's how it was going to turn out. Probably, even if he knew he was going to win.
Well, he actually said
they created a bunch of new categories. I noticed too. That was hilarious, and that's why I said, "What's next? The best kiss?" This is like the MTV Movie Awards again. Like, what the hell? But Chris, I want to comment on that one. Sure. The Carmichael guy you said he was talking about being black, and at the Golden Globes he was making a big deal out of it. I was saying Eddie Murphy made that joke back in like the 87 or 88 Oscars when he's like, they called me and asked me if I wanted to do a presentation, and I said, I don't know about that. It's like, I don't know. The Academy's never really represented black people all that much. I'm like, all right, fine, I'll show up. When is it? And he's like, oh, you don't have to worry about being there right away. It's at the end of the show. like,
yeah. I mean,
like us black people always taking the back of the bus. That was the whole joke. It was like, but then he was just goofing around.
Yeah, but he was goofing around. This guy was dead serious. That's the difference.
But Eddie Murphy is legit funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I don't know.
But
I've always loved him. He doesn't seem to give a shit.
Right.
He, you know, I mean, God, I just watched Bowfinger recently. He's so good.
Oh,
that's amazing. I love that movie.
That movie is
wonderful movie.
Underrated. But yeah, no, so Gerard Carmichael was so bad. I mean, that might be one of the worst hosting of an award show I've ever seen was Gerard Carmichael last year. So, I mean, he talked about private conversations he had with the head of the Globes and made it like this where he sat down and I'm going to tell you a story. I'm not going to do a funny opening monologue. Do you remember that? It was embarrassing. So Joe Coy was like course correction, which was, can you just tell some inoffensive jokes and introduce people to present awards? Can you just please do that? And he did the job. He followed the assignment. And so I thought, I don't think he can be blamed for it. I think he was given a direction and he's legit funny.
But he could have been charming and he wasn't charming.
No, and he also bitched about getting the job. He bitched about getting the job, Chris.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't hear about
whatever.
Chris,
that's okay. It's not what Gerard did. Gerard was the worst.
And
that's
Chris,
true.
I just want to make one correction. The Miyazaki movie has got nothing to do with a boy and a hairpiece. It's the boy and the heron.
Okay. I was very confused. Thank you for that clarification. I really needed that.
Every time you do a review of this movie, you keep saying the hair on. It's not. Right. It's the heron. Well, I'm just saying, as a Canadian, we have lots of herons.
I agree. Right. But I just want to say, as somebody who was a longtime fan and observer of the Oscars and the Golden Globes, and I just kind of checked out after a while. I remember years ago, one of the biggest problems prior to the woke was just the shit hosts, right? Outside of Gervais, which we all agree on, there hasn't been anybody that's been worth a shit. Like I even, like that one year, I remember it was like 2000, it was the same year Endgame came out. So it would have been what, 2019, 2020? Yeah. They had a hard time finding a host for the Oscars. I was like, why don't they just do like they used to do and just get the Avengers to host the Oscars? Right? Like just have the whole cast come in. The movie's coming out. You promote the movie while you have the entire cast handing out the awards and actually doing the show, or not handing out the awards, but doing the show and setting up the presenters to hand out the awards. Right? Like that's all you could, just some gimmicks like that or concepts like that. Instead, they just keep trying stupid things like this guy, like you said, he may be safe as far as, you know, his persona on the stage, but between what culture said, I don't even know who the fucking guy is. Never even heard of him before. Nobody's even been able to tell me what the hell he's ever been in.
So, Chris, go on. So, what were some of the surprises?
Sorry, yeah. So, what are some of the surprises? Really, actually,
Oppenheimer
Barbie didn't win.
Oppenheimer winning, Barbie losing, Poor Things winning, Poor Things, and Emma Stone winning.
Wow!
Like this is those are surprises. People were all expecting Margot Robbie. They were expecting it to be a sweep of Barbie. For director, people were saying Greta Gerwig, right? And they went with a white man.
Yeah.
Chris Nolan.
Well, keep in mind, this is the foreign press, so I'm not so sure. This might be one of those years where the Oscars deviate from the Globes the most.
No. The Globes deviating from the Oscars.
Or vice versa. You're right. Thank you.
Yeah. So what can you say? But I think it was very surprising. Oddly. So yeah.
I think what's also interesting is how HBO and Netflix kind of really swept the television side of things.
Yes.
I'm not too surprised there. They have been for years, haven't they? Well, at least HBO anyway.
HBO, yes, but Netflix, not so much, because again, they're not really much in TV. They are their streaming series, but I guess they opened it up a little bit for Netflix to participate, and they ended up getting a couple of wins, is my understanding.
Yeah. So, but yeah, the boy and the heron.
Hey. Did you know that the heron is the only bird with solid bones? That's why it's able to dive deep into the water.
Interesting. I'll forget that.
Makes them bad flyers.
Yeah, there you go.
But
The more Tom knows.
For best, they call this is so weird. They changed titles of categories where I really didn't notice. Like, what are they doing?
Right?
Best motion picture, non-English language. Okay, not best foreign film because foreign sounds like you're othering, right? You're othering. So it's best motion picture, non-English language. Godzilla -1, not even nominated, but Godzilla -1 is nominated in the Critics' Choice Awards. And everyone was voting for it. I expect that to win. Anatomy of a Fall won. Anatomy of a Fall got a lot of awards. I think it's because it's the foreign press. They like that film. And then on the acting categories, they don't use the term actress. Best performance by a female actor. That's so that is that's the term that is used, right? Like they're not.
That almost sounds worse.
It does. I don't by a female actor.
Yeah, that sounds even more demeaning, if anything.
Yeah, best supporting female actor in a TV series.
I would have changed it to a front holer.
Yeah,
human with a bonus hole.
Again, it's another effort to I don't know, get rid of gender or whatever. I don't know. I don't know what the kids.
But it feels like it's doubling down on it at the same time in a weird way. It's just kind of, I don't know.
Yeah.
We already had a word that meant that. It was actress.
Yeah. So just it was definitely surprises. But the Globes can tend to be off when it comes to the Oscars. The Globes are not a good barometer of what will be nominated for Oscars.
Right.
No. Which, by the way, will be announced at the end of the month, and Alan and I are getting up at like 5 a.m. to watch it live and comment. But the Critics' Choice Awards literally mirrors not just the nominees, but the winners. Every year,
the Directors Guild Awards.
The DGA also. So they're all of these, like, where you can read the tea leaves, not even read the tea leaves, just read the winners and go, okay, that's pretty much where the Oscars is going to go. And there you are. So I am a voting member of the Critics' Choice Awards, the CCA, both myself and Alan. So we will be attending the awards on Sunday, the 14th. And who knows? I'll probably, if I do the show next week, I'm going to be late or at least hungover. So, but yeah, that you really want to pay attention to those awards. It's not as big in terms of notoriety as the Golden Globes. However, because it hasn't been around as long. But the CCA, the Critics' Choice Awards, is the organization that is the best predictor of Oscars. The Globes have always been, because it's the foreign press, some of the choices are just weird, so.
Oh yeah, for sure. But that's what's the joy of the Golden Globes.
Yeah, and I was very surprised by best performance by a male actor in a motion picture, that Paul Giamatti. I fully expected Jeffrey Wright, American Fiction, who I think will probably win at the CCA, honestly. But we'll see. That's a good lineup. We'll see where things are going. I will say we are in January, folks. The movies that are coming out in January are all hot garbage. With all due respect to The Beekeeper, which I'm sure is fun, it is hot garbage January, and we're in the midst of it, which is why I
actually heard mixed on that already. But yeah, sorry.
Yeah, no, it's just what's coming out in January that you're looking forward to, Tom.
Fuck you! It's January.
Well,
yeah,
don't we have Marvel's Miss
Echo?
No, well, you have Echo tomorrow.
Madam Web, I don't think comes out February or March.
That's like in a couple of weeks.
I thought that was February. Yeah.
Okay. I was thinking of Masters of the Universe Revolution. That's
I think Night Swim is I think the only bigger name movie that came out this month. I think.
Look,
yeah, it came out this week. It's Blumhouse, I think. Yeah.
I was going through the comments section of the Film Threat Globes watch party, and someone said something interesting and said that award shows are like, the Gen Z and whatnot think award shows are just boomer garbage. It's not something that's catching on.
Well, they kind of are.
But what I mean is they're dying. Award shows are dying. The only way to say award shows is to bring on someone like Ricky Gervais. That's they haven't learned. Ricky Gervais, as much as like the celebs kind of, squirmed in their seats over Harvey Weinstein jokes and pedophile jokes. Which Jim
I agree
Gaffigan
with you. They just won't. That's the problem.
Jim Gaffigan made the best joke of the evening. The very best joke. I don't even want to paraphrase it, but he mentions pedophile in his joke. It's the best joke of the entire show. So look up that joke. You can find it on social media. That was the best joke of the evening. They could have had Jim Gaffigan if he was going to go that route. I mean, I think he was kind of auditioning to be the host, but people have to question. This is a really stupid thing, which gets into maybe something we'll talk about next week. It's just like not hiring people because they're white, because you're expected to like. It's just like, I don't know, hire the person who's funny and then I think Dave Chappelle, who's never hosted an award show, that is your number one choice. If you can convince Dave Chappelle that he can say and do whatever he wants, that is the person who should be hosting the Oscars. Or bring back Ricky Gervais or Jim Gaffigan, whatever. People just got to get over that there's an expectation or there's an aversion to bringing in a truly diverse group. And Ricky Gervais said it on his Twitter feed. He basically said, look, he said to Dave Chappelle, he said, we should host the Oscars because they each had the number 1 and number 2 show on Netflix. And the Oscars would be, Jimmy Kimmel is such a safe choice. He's such a smarmy jerk. And he has made it very clear that half the country doesn't like you. He was a vaccine propagandist. And so F Jimmy Kimmel, in my opinion. He's also a guy who's done raunchy comedy in the past, which he completely disavows. He did an imitation of Karl Malone. It's not blackface, I guess, but he did an imitation of NBA player Karl Malone, who's kind of monotone as in his interviews. I don't know. I actually always liked Karl Malone, but Jimmy Kimmel would do an imitation. Like he did the Man Show, right? Girls jumping on trampolines, which I always thought was funny. And he completely is just a hypocrite. I do not like the new Jimmy Kimmel. I think he's terrible.
He's been domesticated by network television. And on top of that, the one thing that these award shows are forgetting, and to your point, is that nobody is watching them to see who wins. They're watching for the in-between, the host, the show, the sketches. It's basically the variety show of like the Steve Allen days.
Yes.
But framed around an awards ceremony, because by and large, for anyone out there who's ever worked in offices, the Oscars are the equivalent to the office Christmas party, where they hand out awards and people schmooze with each other.
Mixed with a little bit of a roast. Yeah, they used to be anyway, but yeah.
Ideally mixed with a roast, but you don't really do that at office Christmas parties because
they're
going to fire you.
But I like the idea back in the day when the Oscars, everybody didn't used to take themselves so goddamn seriously. That was
BAFTA. That's the BAFTA award. BAFTA.
I've got great clips. No, I've got great clips of people that are not taking themselves.
Yeah, back in the Bob Hope days.
That's what I'm saying. Back in the 70s and early 80s,
while they are actually introducing people, Frank Sinatra is like drinking.
Well, and I showed you my favorite clip of Jack Lemmon and Walter Matthau when they talk about the industry. Like that's the kind of shit they used to do all the time. They don't do that kind of stuff anymore.
Because I mean, the Oscars,
because they're so full of themselves.
Well, the Oscars also looked very much like a good evening of the Johnny Carson show, where the top talent just got on and they're just having fun, riffing in front of the audience. It's just a party. That's what I mean. That old Hollywood is gone. That's gone.
Oh, I understand, but they need to get that spirit back.
Well, let me finish. We have uptight Hollywood now, and everyone is concerned about what it is that they have to say. And the Oscars, I contend, and I've said this before, Harvey Weinstein killed it. Not for the reasons that you think, but because he promised actors Oscars. And we watched the Oscars because the vast majority of the people watching the Oscars actually saw the movies, and we were rooting for a favorite movie, like our favorite horse at a horse race. Then when we got to the Weinstein era, where nobody saw these esoteric movies that actors were winning for, that helped kill the Oscars. There's that balance between, those years when, this is your favorite movie, but another movie got in there and won, like I think Star Wars was beaten by Annie Hall or something like that.
That's true.
So the thing is, your favorite movie, so that was bad, but that didn't happen all the time. But you saw all the movies or most of them, and you were cheering for popular movies that actually made money. It was the Weinstein era where movies that made no money started winning. And that meant no reason for you to watch the Oscars because, yes, apart from the host, you were cheering for movies that you loved. That's gone.
And the byproduct of that, the tragic byproduct of that is just like you could have in the high school where a whole bunch of the popular people get in charge and it's all what they like as opposed to what the audience likes. Like the people that ran the Oscars that were making movies in Hollywood were the outcasts in their social circles at the time. They went to Hollywood to do their own thing and have fun. But now the popular people have looked at it and said, oh, they're having a whole lot of fun. Let's go over there and do that. But we do it our way, which means that it's only the stuff that they care about. So that's why they're uptight. That's why they're serious. That's why they're not able to make fun of themselves or have fun at these award shows or even have fun on the press junket when it comes to promoting their
film.
Oh
my God.
It's all gone. So I'm sorry I stepped over on you on their cultures. You had something to say it looked like. So.
Oh,
and you're muted.
He's muted.
No the whole point is everything became serious is what happened. Everything became serious. Chato's right. The script's right. Chris is right. Hollywood used to have fun. You used to watch those moments that you guys are all describing. But it's because they also weren't taking the awards so seriously. They weren't valuable. They weren't a commodity that could be leveraged to a better salary on the next deal because Hollywood didn't work that way. You had studio deals and you might, if you're really, really big, you might have a different kind of a contract thing. Things changed. And again, largely because of people like Weinstein and all of that, when this became a form of capital in Hollywood and, the awards they actually thought meant something. They thought that their poop didn't stink, they
devalued the award by making the people nominated for it of no value. I mean, someone who has won an Academy Award, I would say, over the last 25 years is probably not a marketable commodity when it comes to box office draw for a studio. And it used to be not that case.
Well, yeah, because the box office draw and the films that were winning were exactly what Tom said and exactly what you pointed out. They were popular films that everybody saw. Paul said, I know Chris and I would get together with pals and sit in a living room having an Oscar party.
I used to have Oscar parties like Super Bowl parties.
Yeah,
and what Paul is talking about is something I've brought up many times on here, and that's what I call the Weinstein effect. I've, in fact, said English Patient Zero is where ground zero for this whole thing. Because up till then, you had a handful of movies that would get nominated, and at least a majority of them were movies that people actually saw, were popular films. But at that time, we also had movie stars and movies like, Rain Man and other things getting made with movie stars in them, to where now like movies like Sound of Freedom should be getting like nominations for Golden Globes and Oscars, but they're ignoring them because of whatever, insert your reason here, Epstein Island, like here. And that's the problem we have now is they're not the same thing they used to be. You used to have people like Billy Crystal and all those guys that would come out and they knew that they were playing to their audience, but they'd also have fun with the audience at home. See, that's the other thing. They're so separated from us now. Like it used to be, that was the night where we felt like, okay, they're kicking their shoes off a little bit and they're having fun and they're kind of acting just like regular Joes. Now they act so fucking elite when they're there. And you're right, Paul, a big part of that was because, this idea was sold by Weinstein that he could buy an Oscar for you, right? The year that Shakespeare in Love won, everybody goes, what the fuck? Because there was too many other movies that were better than that. And that's where I think everybody finally realized what was going on. But the Golden Globes are a little bit different animal. They've always been a little bit funner, but they've never been known for their host up until Ricky Gervais, to where the Oscars, I think those were a bigger thing about the host. Because I'm not so sure how the Oscars are going to go this year. I'm curious what the Golden Globes actual numbers were, but I wonder if actually having some movies this year that people have actually seen, like Oppenheimer and Barbie, will actually help the Oscars or not. I saw ActionCom brought that up I brought it up on the screen earlier because, again, Chris, I mean, I don't know. Do you think it matters who the host is as long as the movies are decent, people will watch, or do you think it really does matter that much?
It does matter who the host is. It does matter who the host is. The problem is, like, do you remember when Kevin Hart was supposed to do the Oscars and he made a joke years ago involving his son telling his personal story and basically talking about how I hope my son doesn't turn out to be gay. Like, it was like, out of context, whatever. of course, the problem is, here's the problem. The problem isn't the woke mob. The woke mob is going to woke mob. The problem is people who pay attention to the woke mob. That's the problem. Stop paying attention to the 300 people on Twitter who say something is a bad idea or I don't like this. They're not your customers. Your customers are people who are not on Twitter and don't pay attention. Your customers are people who want to watch a funny award show, check out, see some unscripted moments with celebrities being themselves and whatnot. Like, that's it.
And being exposed to some movies that they might have missed in theaters but had an interest in them. Like, that's the other part too.
Exactly right. Like The Boy and the Heron.
Well, what you're describing again goes back to the popularity thing. It's, the elite, the self-imposed elite of the clique, so to speak, saying we're going to control this, whether we get involved or not. So now you have it on the celebrity side of things where they call themselves elite, yet I've seen how they live. There's nothing elite about them. And then you have the woke mobs on social media who are basically framing themselves as the elite arbiters of quote unquote justice. And yet they don't do anything to contribute to any real form of justice in the entertainment or the things that they criticize.
Right. It's just, look, award shows is a dying format. The only way to save it is to go radical. Get Dave Chappelle. Dave Chappelle can save it. Look, to get the number one and number two comedian. I don't know which are one or two. Dave Chappelle or Ricky Gervais, or have them both host and have them roast the industry and show that the industry has a sense of humor. We've been lectured by celebrities. I mean, first of all, celebrities lecture all the time.
Yeah.
It doesn't bother me all that much because I know that they don't really believe the things that they say because they're actors. They don't believe it. They just think what's the thing I need to say to keep being employed? I'll just keep saying that thing.
Yeah, what's their backup? Like, Mark Ruffalo, he's thrown in with the environmentalists. So if he ever doesn't get any work anymore, he can then get paid for speeches on environmental issues at universities and conferences and stuff like that after he's no longer valuable in Hollywood.
I promise you, no one is writing a check to Mark Ruffalo to give a speech on the environment. I don't think that that's going to happen. But what I do think is that celebrities, actors, Rachel Zegler being probably the most prominent example, they say stupid things because they believe that's the thing they need to say to be gainfully employed, to show the people who hire in Hollywood that they're down with the plan. They're down with the plan, or they're down to say whatever. I'll be whatever you want me to be. There was a moment that was a viral moment. When I say viral, I'm definitely putting that in air quotes, where Brie Larson met what's her name? Ben Affleck's Jennifer Lopez on the red carpet. It seemed so planned and so acted, like, make sure you film this and put this on social media. And it was Brie Larson basically talking how much she loved Jennifer Lopez and inspired her when she was younger and blah, 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 and whatnot. And it just seemed so rehearsed that went viral on social media. People have to realize that social media is not real life. It's fake. It's as false as the movies that, are being honored. So don't pay attention to it. And the problem is people at the studios, or even like people at the studios or any organization paying attention to people in social media. One of the biggest cases of that was, I think it was, what is that razor company? I forget the actual name of the Harry's Razors.
Gillette.
No, wrong. Harry's Razors was a company that advertised on the Daily Wire.
Oh, those. Oh, yeah.
They received one complaint on social media to Harry's Razors saying, how are you advertising with a company called the Daily Wire? They're Republican, they're right wing. And so Harry's Razors pulled their advertising, and the response from the Daily Wire was to create an entirely new company called Jeremy's Razors. But the idiocracy, the height of idiocracy, was Harry's Razors reacting to one social media post. This is what's stupid. This is why Kevin Hart should have hosted the Oscars. He should have. The Oscars should have said, we hear you. Kevin Hart is hosting the Oscars. Don't apologize. Don't say anything. Just say, we get it. And this is happening. I really, truly believe that mobs on social media need to be treated like toddlers. Have your tantrum, okay, but we're doing this. I don't care what you think. This is why I post and ghost, right? I post and ghost because I don't care what the cry bullies are saying in my mentions. It doesn't matter to me. And attempts to cancel me, you can't do that. I am my boss. I'm not going to fire me. Okay. And I'm not going to fire people who work for me, even when they have opinions that differ from my own, which happens. I mean, I've had people reach out to Film Threat. We have sort of a general way to contact us. I have people that complain about certain writers, or did you see what Dante James, did you see what Alan Ng posted on social media? I talk to Alan every day. So if a mob comes after Alan, I'm going to laugh in their face. I don't even care if Alan we disagree all the time. I don't care. Or he can have his opinion. Doesn't matter. So I think it's standing up to these mobs and giving them less and less power. So I mean, Tom, you were there. You were at Kara's Cancelversary. There were all sorts of great stories from that, from what happened to Kara and whatever. And I think that since that's happened, and it's only been a year for Kara, and good on her to bounce back, and she's better for it. She was working with a bunch of a-holes. You know, it's become less. The power is being taken away because we see the game, we see how it works, and we're fed up with it. We're fed up with these cancel mobs, and they've come after me for years, before even social media was a thing. I don't want to bore you with stories. I've already spoken too much, but I
don't mean to cut you off a little bit here, but we are losing culture in a moment here. So I wanted to double check with him if we had any box office news before he did. No, you're fine, Chris. I mean, the Golden Globes are basically the only thing really going on right now. So, but in that, was there any box office news real quick before we lose you, culture?
Yeah, real quick, just to outline it, Wonka is approaching 500 million worldwide, so it's actually exceeding expectations. And Wish, after being in theaters for 7 weeks, finally crossed 200 million worldwide, courtesy of Korea, which just recently got the film. Yeah, so it is only $150 million.
That's because most of the country worked on the film. That's why.
Yeah, Chris, can you expound upon just how much extra Wish cost than the budget that we were told $200 million?
You'll have to ask Alan about that. It's I just know that a lot of the Disney numbers are fudged.
Oh yeah, and we're getting fudged in the process. Anyway,
right, true. But part of the issue is that there are transactions between companies within Disney, right? So that's part of Alan's doing this. The new D-Files is either going to drop this week or next. We have another article that's dropping. I teased it last week on the Film Threat live stream, but I think I sent the stuff to you. Did I send the stuff to you, Tom? About the WGA writer
I believe you sent me an email, or I seen it in one of the group chats.
Are you talking about the whole how the writers are supposed to self-identify crap?
Correct. Yes. Writers
I
got that email too.
They're being forced to check boxes so that people that do hiring in TV and film can go, well, I want to get a Latin, Afro, disabled writer. I'm not joking.
Like shopping.
Yeah, it's a registry. It's a terrible registry. A lot of writers are fed up with it.
Yes.
There's already pushback saying that the WGA has no authority to compel this. So we'll have to see how that actually ends up panning out. But no, it's the dumbest thing ever.
I think it's a great idea. Because the largest group of experienced writers are old white guys. So let them win all the fucking awards and not nurture any other talent. And
that identifies
year after year, this is going to confirm who are the best writers with the most experience. And it's going to backfire for that reason alone.
It's only going to backfire internally because this is not going to be released publicly to other people. This is all internal. This is internal registration that it's so dumbly put together. I think there's like sections where you can pick every single box.
Yes. Yeah, they're
Like,
every box.
And the other part too is it's really just going to basically listen, one thing it's going to do that's going to have a benefit is it's going to put a bunch of bad writers on notice because they are clearly going to be the checking the boxes that we know what it is, what they're going to have. Like no one wants to work with a writer who clicks that they have a disability and their disability is some sort of made up pseudo anxiety parallel. They're like, great, that guy's going to be a headache in the room. I'm definitely not going to be looking at him. So it's going to have the backfire in that capacity. But the other part too is that it doesn't properly, it doesn't do anything other than show on the WGA membership side that they can advertise we have X amount of diversity level of writers that are members of our union.
2 things before I go.
Yeah, so what made money this weekend?
That was it. I gave it to you. 2 things real quick, because the box office is there. This is what did you call it, Chris?
Didn't exist.
Fuck off January.
No, it's fuck you. No, it's January. Yeah.
Oh, same thing.
I stole that from RLM anyway.
Let me just point this out real quick. Of the most prestigious awards, Oppenheimer won 5 for the Globes, and Succession won 4 on the TV side. Those are all white people based, which is
Chris did say that in the beginning. The Golden Globes were so white.
Yeah.
Well, also, Succession is considered really well written and a very popular show for that.
There's no arguments here, but the whole thing that the Golden Globes folks got in trouble for was their lack of diversity and their lack of awarding diversity. Yes. And here we are again.
So there's quite a few. There's some diversity in the awards.
Yes.
They don't have a stellar history. That according to the people that were pointing it out. But anyway, that's really the thing I wanted to jump on real quick is and Chris is always right. There just isn't, it always seems to be, as you were talking about, Paul, that it's all these white guys. So anyway. But I got to run. Thank you for having me today. Sorry I could not be here longer. I hope you all have an extraordinary Monday, the first full week of January. I hope you get the maximum fulfillment this week. I'll see you soon.
You take care of yourself.
Later, Culture.
All right. Well, since we have a small break here, let's get into some of these super chats from the beginning. Was there any before Stone Racket? Top? Nope, that was top one. Okay. Yeah. Stone Racket, who's been a member for 32 months, says, "Greetings, everyone. Tom, I had to cancel my Entertainment Earth order for quarter scale 1989 Batman NECA action figure due to too many delays. Ended up getting it from Big Bad Toy Store. Well, I'm sorry to hear that, Stone Racket, and I've actually already passed this on to Entertainment Earth with a message that I'm not too happy with. Because they are they are one of our sponsors, and when I hear this, that means we lost a commission. So I'm sorry to hear that, Stone Racket. But I did actually send that on to Entertainment Earth. So hopefully this is something that gets dealt with in the future. So I'm not too happy about that myself. But thanks for bringing that to my attention. Matthew W. has been a member for 26 months. Says 250K. Congrats, you guys. It's been great to have been here, been along for the journey. Keep up the good work and love the new short form videos. Well, thank you for that. And I'm sure Andre's glad to hear that.
Oh, yeah.
They are good.
Yeah. And I'm glad that you've been here this whole time for 250 videos. That's 250K subs. That's a nice round number right there. So very happy to finally have reached that.
Indeed. Thank you.
Congrats.
And Tomac sends in $20. And thank you, Chris. It's a shout out to the chronic math debater, always finding the right answer. Who's a chronic math debater? Oh,
we all are.
That's a good one, Tomac.
That was good. That was good. At least it wasn't bad like what they've done to like Campia. Anyway, Callum Lyle's here. Good to see you again. Sends in an Australian $5. Says the Echo actress has hearing privilege. Kevin Feige will hire any idiot off the street, won't he?
Well, that's
hearing
not
privilege.
Fair. I know what he's talking about. That's, obviously not the reason for hiring someone, but that doesn't necessarily make them bad. And also, it's not always the actor's fault when they're dealing with a crappy script. So we have to be careful about all this stuff.
Yeah, but it is difficult to argue that she didn't get the job mainly because she was hearing impaired.
Well, they should have hired Marlene Maitland then.
Well, she's like 80 now.
Yeah, but they could get her into shape.
Yeah, they could.
Or
maybe they just wanted to have someone on staff that they could yell at who won't take an abrasive response to it
because they can't hear it.
Exactly.
But also with the current Echo, they got some extra ESG points because she's also an ESG. So sorry, an amputee. So she checks.
She's
all more boxes.
All the ESGs almost. So
like all the boxes.
Yeah, and indigenous. It's like literally is the checkbox Marvel's checkbox series.
It is.
It literally is. Yeah, it literally is.
Yeah,
it's the most stunning piece of. I mean,
they just got to give her a trans girlfriend, and that'll be like the most woke individual on television, basically.
Pretty much, yeah. Because I mean, that is the most checkbox casting there has ever been.
In the end, it's all about the show or the movie. And whether it's good or not. In the end, that's really all that matters, all this kvetching.
No, I hope this actress the best. I'm not saying she can't.
I don't hear very many good things about the show, though.
Drops tomorrow.
Was that not a joke?
Drops
it was actually
tomorrow?
kind of funny. No, he said he didn't hear good things about the show.
No, that was not a joke.
It was kind of funny. Own it.
I'll own it.
Unintentionally funny. Unintentional hilarity right there.
It's making shows that initially we don't care about. One of the marvels of not that it made any money. I mean, everyone's shocked that I just saw the first Highlander now.
I can't believe that.
Never.
Pardon me?
Yeah, Andre can say that.
Yeah.
What's amazing, even though it didn't make its money back, probably due to the amount of money they had to pay to Sean Connery to play that role, but it's amazing how far a premise that twigs people's imagination can go, even if the movie is not brilliantly made. And Highlander is more a rock video than it is a movie.
I'll let that slide.
I love it, but it is of its time. It's a canon movie.
Very much so, yes. It is very much a product of its time. I mean, you look at that and you can tell right away, okay, this thing here is filmed somewhere between 1986 and 1988.
And the Queen soundtrack, and I mean,
and I love it.
I wish we could make movies like that dumb and silly and unself-conscious. I wish we could, but we're just too cynical now.
We're working on it. Henry Cavill's going to be Highlander. We'll see if they can pull it off.
Oh yeah, I don't see why they couldn't fix that. I would have re-edited that movie. I mean, I don't see why it can't be.
You just stay the fuck away from my movie. Leave it alone. There's nothing wrong with it.
I'm talking to George Lucas how to re-edit it.
No. This is already the director's cut, Paul.
I know. I saw.
You don't understand that.
I enjoyed
the
it.
version we had before this was worse,
but
because there's a bunch of stuff that you need that's not in the movie.
Time. So, and yeah, what was I getting at? I can't remember.
I don't know. It's a great film though, and I will agree with you on that.
Yeah, it is. It is a great film.
We need to move along a little bit here. We've got Coffee Tastes Like Shit sending in 35 South African rands. It says, I agree with Gore. Disney were going to cancel Rey, so she went out and said stupid crap to save the movie. Now it makes it more likely to go away. Okay, I think what Coffee Tastes Like Shit is, you had some theory, Chris, that to this whole Rey movie. If you can listen on that.
The theory is real.
I thought that was some very, very good piece of speculation right there. So I even reiterated in the most recent video that we published. But feel free to repeat it here, because the backdrop here is, of course, the director of the Rey movie, not Rey herself, the activist WEF woman,
Charmin Obaid-Chinoy.
That one, speaking out to CNN of all places on New Year's Eve. Why would you do that? What do you think, Chris?
Well, here's what I think. And I tweeted out something a couple days ago. Quite simply, I said, what's your favorite Charmin Obaid-Chinoy movie? And I said
3 cartoon movies. That's it.
Right. She hasn't made anything of substance where you would think that she was qualified to make a Star Wars film. And more concerning is her connections to the World Economic Forum, for which she's been a frequent speaker, which the World Economic Forum, their agenda is pushing certain types of agenda through entertainment, politics. I mean, Justin Trudeau is completely captured by the WEF. Like,
what?
You should know that.
Of course I know that.
Yeah. But
they cut his hair.
Yeah, it's disconcerting to me. That's actually the most concerning thing, is she was not selected for her talent. She was selected not because she's a woman. She was selected because she's going to push an agenda, and she'll be a pushover to the executives at Lucasfilm. I believe that the project is in trouble of not happening. I believe that, Kathleen Kennedy is fired. This is just facts. She has fired more directors than she's hired. There have been many projects that have been developed that have been announced and never happened. And I believe I think there's a 90% chance this movie never happens. I think that Obaid-Chinoy understands that, and she hired a personal publicist. I hired a personal publicist for a month once when I didn't know what I was doing. This was when I first started doing television in the late 90s, early 2000s. And I hired a person because I didn't know what I was doing. I'm like, can you help me promote me so I can raise the value of what I do? And they're expensive. They're expensive. On the low end, you're looking at $5,000 a month and $10,000 and higher. And she does strike me, having watched videos of her, that she is someone who is an elite. She comes from money. That's how you get involved with the WEF. That's how you rub shoulders with people who have money. That's how you have a career as a filmmaker, because you don't need to make money, right?
That's how she survived attacking the people that oppress women in her native countries.
Yes, she has money.
So and she's from royalty.
Right. So she somehow convinced, Kathleen Kennedy that she's capable. And I feel like Kathleen Kennedy is just like, I don't know, we'll develop movies and then we'll see what gets greenlit. Because I don't think that Kathleen Kennedy has the power to greenlight. I believe that that's Ayer. Because when you're greenlighting something, you're giving Kathleen $400 million. And that's $200 million to make the movie and another $200 million to promote it. Hopefully it doesn't go.
I don't know how accurate it is, but we were told in the day that she could greenlight TV shows until she's blue in the face. But she has to go through the proper channels to actually greenlight a film through the actual distribution part of Disney.
Exactly.
Which is why it's been 4+ years since we've had a Star Wars feature film.
Because I don't think that Ayer trusts her any longer. Well, 4+ years since we've seen a Star Wars movie, we did see Indiana Jones, right? And that was a disaster. I don't think that Kathleen Kennedy has the clout anymore. I don't think we're going to see any of these Star Wars projects. I don't think are coming out. They're not creating new Star Wars fans. They're not creating.
Well, they're never going to see that she's the problem, unfortunately. And I've said that, and we've all said that many times, as far as, especially us who are kind of know how the industry works. But that's just it. The biggest mistake Bob Chapek ever made, the one thing that we can hang on his shoulders, is that Bob Iger told Kathy to stay the fuck away from Star Wars and shit. And that's when things started getting good. And then remember, we got Indiana Jones was announced and all this stuff. She was over here diddling around with blood and bones and shit. Then Bob Chapek comes along and goes, quit diddling around with blood and bones over here and start worrying about your real job over with Star Wars and Indiana Jones. And that's when she re-injected herself into the equation and everything went to shit. That's when Spielberg left. That's when Mangold came in. That's when Carano was booted. That's when Favreau lost control of everything. All those events come right around that same point where Chapek said that and brought her back into the equation. Because before that, everything was kind of going on an upward trajectory. You even still had Spielberg involved with Indiana Jones and stuff like that as well. And that's when he decided to just say, fuck you.
Well, I mean, Mangold is fully capable of directing a decent.
But he was just doing work for hire at this point. Let's be real.
I'm sure he wasn't thrilled in the end with how he was mango handled.
Right.
I agree with you.
Let me finish what I was going to say is that Charmin Obaid-Chinoy, more than likely, because she has money, hired a personal publicist out of her own pocket, told the publicist, get me booked on shows CNN, I know, are pushovers. I've been on CNN many times. Okay. They're pushovers. If you want to be on CNN, you can call someone, and as long as you check certain boxes, you'll get on CNN. Well, of course, they bent over back. What was the point of doing it? What was that time to? They're not promoting anything. There's nothing actionable to do. Most publicity surrounding movies is based on doing something actionable. What is that? Look at the trailer and get excited. Buy tickets. Tell people you love the movie. Those are the 3 actionable things that you as a consumer are encouraged to do, and none of those things were possible. So what was the agenda? What was the meaning or the purpose behind her appearance on CNN? It's not to promote a movie. There's no trailer. The movie's not even being shot. It may not even be written. It was to save the project. That's why she went on CNN. She feels it slipping through her fingers because, like a lot of the projects that got developed at Lucasfilm, it was the new toy, and Kathleen got bored with it or realized this isn't going to happen. I mean, the problem is you need to be, and Lucas was pretty good about this. He was pretty good about not promoting anything until, he needed to get people excited. If you look at the way that the Star Wars prequels were rolled out or when George did things, it was timed to actionable things that fans could do. It was celebrating an anniversary. There was merch to buy. And that was at the time when people cared about Star Wars merch. They no longer care. And so I believe that this director pushing an agenda with this movie, which was made very clear, hired a personal publicist to get her booked on something to save the project. And just having heard her speak, she is not qualified to do this. Not one sentence about how the story that needs to be told. What is the reason we need a Rey movie? What is aside from the fact that her entire character was bungled in the sequels where we were even interested in what her story was. Who were her parents? There's that meme, and you've seen it, where they show the last shot of it from Return of the Jedi compared with the last shot of Rise of Skywalker. Have you seen that, Tom?
Yeah, you have the group photo compared to her just by herself thing. Yeah.
Have you seen
it?
I think
that's what you're talking about.
It's so unbelievable when you think about it. Like, oh my God, Palpatine's lineage survives and the Skywalkers are wiped out. It's sick. This is the lack of thinking on the part of the people who were from the story group, which I think those people, you know what? They're not writers, they're fans. They're not Mario.
When Charmine talks, it sounds like she's addressing the UN General Council.
Yes.
Well, here's the other thing I have a problem with, because I was the one who always made the joke originally that she's fired more people than she's hired. And people used to make fun of me for that until it was actually true when I pointed out to them. And you look at it, all the projects that never got off the ground compared to the ones that did, and all the people that she's fired. I'll be surprised if Obaid-Chinoy or whatever the hell her name is. Now I fucked it up. Charmine Obaid-Chinoy's actual Star Wars movie gets made, but this Rey movie is going to happen come hell or high water, because I think this goes beyond Kathleen Kennedy. I think this is Bob Iger. I think this is his dictation. I think he has to save face. This is the only thing he has left to try and save his legacy with. And at this point, if he didn't remove Kathy from the equation again, what else can he do? Because that's like one of the only things he hasn't undone that Chapek did since he's been back. I mean, to my knowledge, Andre, he's turned back everything else that we know of to where because he changed it. Chapek changed it to where the creatives had to answer to the distribution and the marketing department and explain to them and convince them that these are things that were going to make money. And they didn't like that. In fact, that's the reason why Chapek was considered the devil in Hollywood for a while, because he actually made them accountable for what they were creating. Right. So that was one of the first things that Bob Iger said he was going to change back because he disagreed with.
Yeah, that was that was the second thing he did. The first thing he did was the first thing he did was actually to announce that that DMET, that's going away. We are giving all the power back to the crazy people, and I'm firing Kareem Daniels. That was the second thing. The head of DMET, the man of color who's actually really, really skilled and who would have like those green lighting and decision powers instead of the likes of Kathleen Kennedy and Kevin Feige. Got rid of him and gave all the power back to the crazy people who shouldn't be having it in the first place.
Yeah, and the thing is, it obviates any opportunity to excite the audience. So Mangold actually gave us hope that Indy was going to be good, right? Because this is a professional director with a good track record. He knows what he's doing. Now, I mean, I posted on Twitter that if Disney really wanted to get us excited about Ray, however excited, don't hire this this individual without the experience. I'm not going to cut her down for not having passion or maybe not, believing in this opportunity, but then hire SS, Rajamouli, right? If you want the audience to get excited about what this next Star Wars would be, and you want that little bit of, spice in the director's chair, then Rajamouli is going to get people excited, those who know his stuff, right?
Yes. When you look at someone's previous work, if I said to you, Christopher Nolan's making a Star Wars movie, or Michael Bay is making a Star Wars movie, you'd say, oh, cool. Or Patty Jenkins is making a Star Wars movie. People would say, oh, wow, that's cool. Yeah, that makes sense.
She had one for a short while there, but then the script was so terrible that Lucasfilm canceled everything, in addition to the failure of Wonder Woman 84.
Well, it's just, she's just such a weird choice that it can only be driven by an agenda behind this movie. She's a World Economic Forum plant.
It's the same problem Marvel has right now.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. So
it's because they keep getting these activist directors instead of getting just actual directors who have worked their way up the ranks. Like, instead of getting, like they had in the first part of the Marvel universe, they had, your Joe Johnsons, your Jon Favreau's, your Kenneth Branagh's. Instead of bringing in guys like that, or grabbing guys like Blomkamp and other guys who haven't had a chance to do a Marvel film yet, they're bringing in people like Obaid Onoi or whatever. And that's what Deborah Chow was. That's what the Eternals director was. Help me with her name again, Andre. Chloe Zhao.
Chloe Zhao, yeah.
Yeah, that's what all these guys are. They come in, they've made 1 or 2 documentaries, and they've never made anything remotely close to anything what you could consider this. Like, they never even worked on a fancy commercial or even music video anymore. At least you could say that about Michael Bay and some of those guys back in the day. It's like, at least they cut their teeth on something that had some special effects and some action. And, but Michael Bay directed all Meatloaf's videos and shit like that.
Even, I recommend everyone listen to Script Doctor's essay on Snyder. I've never heard him speak. The man is incoherent. Like, I could not believe.
I love what Script does.
I could not believe Script Doctor's video on Snyder. Now, I had the pleasure or not pleasure of going to a seminar with Bryan Singer, and he sounded exactly the same way. He couldn't string a fucking sentence together. Like, I was yelling, "Give me a verb, Bryan, please!" Like, a verb would be great. And he sounded exactly the same as Zack Snyder. Like, how do these people get work? I just don't get it.
Well, they're starting to get squeezed out, right? Like, Snyder's an example of somebody who's now been squeezed down to Netflix streaming only. Considering how hardcore Netflix gets behind him, I don't understand why.
But I don't understand how these intellectual midgets who can't string a sentence together get work. I just don't get it.
It's baffling, because a good director needs to be articulate in expressing their ideas.
Correct.
And Zack Snyder is none of those. It's just the case. I mean, one of the things that made Ang Lee a good director in his native land, but a little bit trickier on this side, is the fact that he wasn't fluent in English, so he had to go through a translator.
Yeah.
And the translator did the best job they could to get stuff across. But the thing is, Ang Lee recognized, listen, I'll make some Hollywood films, but I really am more comfortable. I'm far more proficient making movies, where people understand me without the use of a translator, because there can be things lost in translation. With Zack Snyder, you don't get that luxury. You just have to go for it.
It's lost in translation, period.
No, they need a Chinese translator for him.
But here's the thing. There's an interview out there where I think the star of Rebel Moon was saying how she was so concerned about her role that when she looked over to Zack, he wasn't even paying attention to her. He was playing basketball. And I'm thinking, why is there a director shooting hoops when he's supposed to be comforting his actor and giving her into the space that she needs in order to give the performance he requires to tell his story?
Wow, that's as bad as Gus Van Sant in fucking Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back.
Ironing his money, yes.
Yeah, he's like, Gus, we need some help here. Ben, I'm busy. No, I agree with you, Script. You're 100% correct. The only exception I would say to that rule is when you have a good actor director who knows how to talk to actors. He may not necessarily be able to, he may not be able to articulate himself all the time. Clint Eastwood's a great example of that. A guy who has very few words, right? I'm sure he knows how to talk to an actor, though. Exactly. He knows exactly what to tell a director what they need. Exactly. Yeah.
I've listened to Clint Eastwood in interviews, and he is still a very articulate person. He just doesn't ramble, so to speak. Like I was listening to Richard Donner. He loves his vocabulary. He's verbose, but he's always on point. He doesn't disturb. Right. He doesn't interrupt himself with mid thoughts and mid sentences. He doesn't go. He doesn't do any of the flaws that I sometimes do whenever I'm trying to get out an idea because my mouth is trying to catch up with my brain. But in the case here with guys like Snyder, with exceptions to Bryan Singer, they don't understand the thoughts that they're trying to convey. I literally have a quote of Zack Snyder saying he made a comp to his film professor where he actually used the words Star Wars in space.
Yes.
Who said that?
Zack Snyder. Yeah.
I have made 2 videos mocking Zack Snyder. I did a general one, and then I did the Snyder Cut one. The Snyder Cut one I'd recommend because I took away the clown music, and it just let him talk. And he actually has said that he wanted to do something like Seven Samurai or meets Magnificent Seven meets Star Wars set in space.
And that was why I made that little short bit on Comics Division that I put on the channel. I don't know if you guys have seen it or not, where I basically break down this shit. I'm like, we already had this.
Brilliant.
Yeah, we already had this once. So what the fuck is this? Because and that was what part of the inspiration script. Because like you said, he's already saying it's Star Wars. Star Wars is set in space. So you just basically, it's the stupidest thing ever.
No director that has worked as long as he has, who has to do comps about selling his story, would ever say Star Wars in space. You just say Star Wars because it's already assumed it's set in space. Now, if you were to say something like, I want to do Indiana Jones set in space, and a producer says, well, isn't that Star Wars? They're an idiot because Star Wars is not an archaeological quest adventure. I mean, that's it. It's very, very different. It's one guy looking for something to stop a war, whereas Star Wars is like, no, we have the thing that the bad guy wants. We're rushing to get it to the heroes so we can save the galaxy. They're very
Ahsoka is Indiana Jones in space.
Yes, Ahsoka would be Indiana Jones in space about Star Wars, and that's the thing. It's not about anything else other than Star Wars and looming over. Thrawn's coming. Well, he's only able to come because you went to go get him.
Why didn't you get him earlier and then make the show interesting?
Anyway. Yeah, exactly.
But when you listen to articulate directors like William Friedkin or John Frankenheimer speak, it's wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
Or even Scorsese.
Thank
you,
Chris.
Right,
well,
Tarantino's another one who likes to ramble, but he's good at expressing himself, though. And what he wants. Yeah. But no, I agree with you guys 100%. But let's get some more of these super chats if you don't mind, because they are catching up with us here. Let's say Callum Lyle sends in another Australian 5. Thank you for that. Says Emmys, The Last of Us won because it checked all the boxes, and now unbelievably gay episode 3 was. Yeah, I seen the Emmys had something going on last night too. Isn't that right? 6, something like that. What was it going on? With
it was the creative arts section. Okay. So it was like the also rans or not.
And that's why
you know what? That was a good show. I'm sorry.
Ryan Reynolds put out a clip that was actually kind of funny.
Yeah,
I saw that.
Episode 3 was episode 3, but it was one of the better shows on TV overall. I'm not going to put a hate on that show. I'll wait for season 2 when our hero gets clubbed to death by a lesbian. But first season, excellent, and I stand by it.
You guys want to see the DeadPool clip? It's only 47 seconds.
I've seen it. It's pretty funny.
Let's see it.
Go.
Have you seen it? All right.
I haven't seen it.
Yeah, let's go for it.
Because I guess Ryan won an Emmy for his show.
Wow. God, Mr. Lively couldn't be here to accept this broken Emmy. He sent me on his behalf. First and foremost, Wrexham, we love you. Thank you for letting Rob and the other guy tell your story. Cymru byth, bitches. I'd also like to thank the Academy for this honor and for not asking us to attend the televised awards show with the real celebrities. I'd also like to thank FX and Disney for their support, and in exchange, Mr. Lively promises to not fuck up my next movie. Lastly, the Oscars. You're on notice, motherfuckers. Maybe we can get a token VFX nod next year. The amount of work on Hugh and Ryan's face alone is at least worth a nod. All episodes now streaming on Hulu.
As ad for Wrexham, but yeah. Anyway, I thought.
Well, you know what? There's your next host for the Golden Globes,
right?
Yeah. Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool.
Get Ryan Reynolds.
Has nobody not? That's what I was kind of saying before. He's like, yeah, like there's plenty of people out there that could do it.
He'd be
Ryan's
too
a great
expensive,
example, but yeah.
I know, but I did like the host's excuse that he only had 2 weeks to write it. Dear Lord, put me in a room with a bunch of other writers, and you know,
in 2 weeks we'd have a show that.
Oh my God!
Over.
Shit, I can imagine when like Bruce Valanche and shit.
Oh my God!
Stuff, some great shit probably got thrown out compared to the good shit that gets left in now.
You'd throw more good stuff from
That's
Bruce
what I'm
Valanche
saying,
out than, you know, in an hour.
Exactly.
You find funnier jokes in Bruce Valanche's beard than you would on the regular stage of the Oscars these days.
Yeah. For those who don't know who he is, do check him out. There's actually a really great documentary about him that came out like 30 years ago now, 20 years ago.
Show king.
Yeah, he was great on like the game show for years.
And another gay member of the entertainment
openly
crew
gay.
Didn't give a shit about this stuff. Dear Lord.
And I'm very jealous of his shirt collection. I'm probably one of the only other humans on earth.
Well, he's dead now, so just get it.
Yeah,
isn't he
it's
dead?
true. No, I don't think he's dead. I think he's still alive, isn't he?
So.
Bruce,
I think he's still alive. You probably just killed him now, Paul. Thanks a lot.
No, yeah, he's still alive. He's 75.
Oh, sorry. He's
I was gonna say he's just retired. He's just been
Yeah, Bruce Valanche is great.
And that's why the award shows suck now. It's because Bruce retired.
Oh, he's only 6 years older than me.
I was say he's not that old,
but he's much better looking.
That's
he's
true.
lost a lot of weight too recently. So
good for him.
Oh, I haven't seen him since he lost weight. I'll check it out. Gonzalo Bergali's been here.
Sagginess to him, but yeah. Sorry, go ahead, Tom.
So he must have either did one of those crash diets or got the surgery deal. But yeah, Gonzalo Bergali sends in a member chat for 24 months. That's 2 years, my friend. Congratulations. And thank you for the support.
We're impressed with your math, Tom.
I know. I can finally figure it out. Stone Racket is here and he sends us a super sticker. It is a Shiba dog. Oh,
Purple cat.
Purple cat. Okay, that's the next one. Okay, gotcha. And then the next one after that is the this one here. Another one from Stone Racket. This is the Shiba dog who is raising an arm to greet someone asking, how is it going? Well, it's going as good as it can right now, Stone Racket. Thank you for being here and asking. And then we got DCB Titan who says a Golden Globe is like a used condom. Evidence your best times are behind you. Well, I don't know. See, the foreign press Golden Globes always kind of were kind of like the pre-Oscars back in the day. They were always kind of fun, and the celebrities were always a little bit more drunk.
But you also got a more European feel too.
Yes,
you get the Brigitte Bardot, you got the Gerard Depardieu's. I mean,
TV was involved as well, so it was a little bit more broader.
Yeah, and you get the Italian actors in there, all the romantic male leads. It's just not the same as the
it's not the glitzy thing, but it's more of a fun. It used to be more fun,
and it's gotten more American, ironically.
Yeah, which is funny because Andre, I think you explained it best what the foreign press was yesterday on George's program. Basically, if you want to go real quick.
Yeah, sure. Well, basically, it's like this is foreign press that don't get invited to all of the good parties and all the good award shows because they're just foreigners. They want their own stuff.
Yeah. But yeah, these are basically the correspondents between the studios and their own home.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's all in the. Oh, that's what you meant. Yeah, like basically like every foreign like newspaper, all the Roger Eberts in Norway, in Sweden, in London, in Turkey, that are sent off to Hollywood. They're the ones that form the Hollywood Foreign Press Association. So they're the ones that don't get invited to all the cool kids parties and cool kid award shows. At least not the same way as they want their own.
And this is why I honestly, the Oscars are one of the only ones that I hold. I mean, they used to be fun like a Super Bowl, but as far as like what their award actually meant, like Culture wasn't wrong earlier about what they meant compared to what they benefited the actor or director or whoever would win one. I disagreed on that part, that you always benefited from one usually. But the difference is back then, and they seem to have forgotten that during the Oscars So White campaign and some other things, is they give these Oscars to themselves, right? It's not like we're voting on this shit. They're given to them by their peers. Okay, that means people in the industry who work alongside them vote on these scripts. You can probably explain this better than I can. but basically, like, it's all the people that you work with. They're giving awards to themselves. Yeah.
It's a high school election. That's basically it. All the students vote for each other in some capacity, and they tabulate. They changed the voting style. Chris might know more details of this because I've never been able to participate in any of the award shows because I'm usually in Canada at the time. But they ended up, instead of just you got to pick or organize the top 5 or top 10 of the nominations, and then they collect that as an aggregate, and that's how they determine a winner, as opposed to everyone just picking, their favorite being number 1. They would average them out, and that's how they would get the winner recently. That's a recent thing, right, Chris? Am I wrong there? But that's what I was told.
Yeah, it's something like that. Also, like in voting for the CCA, the first round of voting is a ranking system. So we're able to give 3 nominees. We can nominate 3 films or 3 creative talents in each category. And then at the end, we literally just vote for 1. So
the other thing I know changed in recent years was, and this was during, I believe, the Oscars So White crap, because they're like, we need to inject some new blood into the voting. So they like got rid of any members who had not been working in so long and some other things. And there was a lot of retired actors that were really upset about that, and screenwriters and stuff like that. So basically, because they were saying it's kind of either an ageism thing, or, there were some people who, worked in the industry for quite a few years and then they went off to do other things, but they still were part of the academy and stuff. And they felt like that was taken away from them unceremoniously.
Right.
But yeah. But anyway, moving on, we got some more here. Callum Lyle says, with an Australian $5, is Randolph racist or incompetent to be self-aware, or belongs on the short bus? I think, as Andres likes to put it, never interject anything else where incompetence. How do you say it, Andre? I forget.
What I say is that never attribute to malice what can be explained by incompetence.
And just insert racist, or
in this case, just like sheer shit takes and weird taste. It doesn't have to be anything worse than that.
Honestly, like even as bad as some of these suckers are with some of the stupid shit with the woke crap, I don't even think they're as racist as they're coming off. I just think they're trying to say what they feel is the right thing to say, right? It's just like an actor when they're just going along with the whatever it is, the newest trend is to talk about. But anyway, as far as being on the short bus, well, she's got this far, so if she has been on the short bus, it's pretty good for her. I hate to stick up for her, but yeah. Dash Attack.
Did you get this one, Tom?
No, when was that one from? Oh, did I bump ahead? Okay, I didn't see
11:22 for you.
I did not see that one. Callum Lyle sent in another Australian 5. Sorry about that, Callum. It says, like that Flower Moon actress, the next time I hear an actor declaring they are the world's first, I will literally vomit. Why was she claiming she was the world's first winning something, Chris?
Yeah, she's like the first of Blackfoot Indian or
something of that nature. I would be like, I wouldn't want to be the world's first. I want to just be the world's best. Way better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They have just such limited ways to convey their value.
Because they have no value to begin with. That's why.
Correct. That was my implication.
Mm-hmm. Well, then we got Dash Attack here. Sorry about that before.
No.
Sends in $4.99, says, congratulations on the milestone. Thank you for the news, banter, and entertainment. Well, thank you, Dash Attack. We appreciate that. And then he has another one right after that for $4.99. It says, a new anime called Kaiju Number 8 will be the first anime to stream worldwide on X for free. This is a bad English localization practices are being exposed. Okay, so the two of these are not like, you're just saying it's while the other thing was happening, they're doing this. Okay, gotcha. Yeah, well, interesting, and hopefully that works out good for X.
I look forward to hearing Mr. Chato's review of it. I'm sure that you must be aware of this.
Well, you mean the first version of an AI-driven? I would be interested in seeing it.
That's what I figured, that you might be interested in that.
You know what? I never even thought of covering that, but that sounds interesting.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I knew.
Yeah, it's up my alley.
All right. And then Ryan sends in 20 euros, and we heard enough about your alley this morning. Can't we admit these award shows are not for us? Well, yeah, we already have. They're for self-absorbed narcissists to pat themselves in the back. I hate them. Yeah,
but all things must pass, as George Harrison said. And award shows lasted a good long time. I attended the very last Comdex in 2001, which was a huge show, computer show, maybe one of the biggest next to the Frankfurt show. And it died like the next day because of the internet. The internet killed Comdex because people did not have to go and visit a giant trade show to see stuff. They could get it all on the internet. So the idea that somehow this was going to go on forever, I think that's a specious idea. But they did kill it themselves.
Yes, they did. But I'm curious because 2019, I believe, was the highest grossing year for films ever. I mean, not, taking inflation into equation, but just the sheer number of billion-dollar hits we had that year.
And how did the Oscars do that year?
That's my thing here. Is like, we're at a time where movies are probably were at least at that point more popular than they ever were. But yet, and I'm curious what Chris feels about this, because to me, the award shows, I get this, Ryan. I knew this then, but for all the reasons we said earlier in the show that made them great before, at least in our eyes, there was another part of that. Because, guys like us, some nerds, we didn't always follow sports and shit, so there wasn't always shit that we had. But like the Oscars and things like that were just kind of like our thing, right? Like they were our thing that we could follow. They were our thing that we could talk about with our friends. They were things we were anticipating. We talked about the movies we've seen. We didn't see what we thought should win, what we thought will win, all those kind of things. It was, we'd have our brackets set up, and, sometimes you'd even do like a little betting pools and stuff like that. But I mean, I remember even around the office and stuff, if you worked in an office setting and even in certain other settings, sometimes you'd have like pools like you would for other sports events. So, I mean, then it just felt like a communal thing that everybody had fun with. And I don't know if that's similar to your experience, Chris, or one of the reasons why you give a shit still, or why you still hang on to these things too. But I'm curious to what they mean to you, or what they meant to you over the years, and why you
talk about award shows, right?
Yeah, award shows in general. Yeah,
I loved them. I've watched award shows for me when I was a little kid, like when Star Wars was nominated for an Oscar.
Right.
This is before it was released on VHS. I watched the Oscars to see scenes from Star Wars.
That too, yeah.
I watched Siskel and Ebert to watch scenes from movies opening in theaters. I watched SNL because reliably every movie that opened in a big theater, and this was for years through the 80s and 90s, if a big movie is opening, it's always advertised on SNL, right? Always. So I watched the award shows to see scenes from movies. And like to see like, oh my God, there's like, Carrie Fisher or Mark Hamill, like not in the character doing something, on an award show.
Right.
But like I've watched award shows since I was a kid. And they've, evolved over the years. I think Billy Crystal did a very good job. He was a frequent host of the Oscars for a while. He would do parodies and he could roast Hollywood in a way that they were okay with, right? It wasn't too cruel or mean or truthful. It was just funny. And so I thought he was a good recurring host, but just in recent years, award shows, I think we see how fake it is, how phony it is.
Yeah.
I think celebrities have become less special because we see them on social media every day. Award shows were one of the few times, oh my God, we get to see Brad Pitt just be Brad Pitt. Well, you can see unscripted moments with celebrities on social media every day. It's not special. And so
I think you hit the nail on the head there. Yeah.
So the thing that award shows actually did well, which is see celebrities out of character, we can see all the time. So that was a thing. Also, the lecturing and the agenda pushing is just annoying. So there's that aspect.
I miss actors lecturing people about how to be better actors.
Yeah.
Remember those days?
Right. Or just even acting like what they do is so important. At the end of the day, it isn't.
No.
At the end of the day, it isn't. Like, I'm sorry to say, I know storytelling is important, and I believe that there are really good arguments for that, and I believe it. But I think that it's like, and I've said, I'm going to just freaking tweet this. It's like that one executive said, we make shit people don't need.
Yep.
You better appreciate your audience.
But it's also the quality of the acts too. I mean, have you watched the BAFTA? You've watched the BAFTA awards.
Yes, yeah.
So it is almost literally, I don't think that's correct English because it's either literally or not, but I'm going to use it anyway. It's almost literally every single person is Ricky Gervais.
Yes.
They all have this wry British sense of, they take the Mickey out of each other. They take the Mickey out of themselves. They take the Mickey out of the person who just won before them. It's such a much better, more relaxed show. And everybody's funny. Everybody. And they're all smart. They can string words and sentences together, which an awful lot of Hollywood actors cannot do, as you know.
Yeah, but you brought up a great point there, Chris, and I remember that too. Now I'm, waiting up. That was one of the main reasons I started watching Siskel and Ebert and some of those other shows, Entertainment Tonight and stuff, for that very reason. Because you're right, we didn't have the internet back then. We didn't have the ability to just go and type up something on YouTube and find all the videos. I actually used to have tapes where, like, when something was coming out, where like Independence Day, like all the Independence Days that would go, like all the interviews on talk shows and stuff on Entertainment Tonight coverage, the making of documentary that would show on like ABC the night before the movie would come out and shit like that, all on one tape, just so I had it all there at my access before I ever needed it for whatever reason, creating my own special features basically for the days of DVD.
My mom and I would sit there with the Toronto Telegram list of the shows, of the movies that were nominated for the Oscars, so we could check them off ourselves.
Well, that's what I love when your newspaper would actually finally start bringing those out. That was great about them. But no, that's a great point.
Or Oscar pools are really fun.
Yes,
remember,
that's what I was bringing up.
Throw in $20, you might win a couple $100.
Exactly. And those were the only times I could usually win. I couldn't win the sports polls, but I should, or sports pools, but I sure could win the Oscar and the Emmys and the Golden Globe ones.
Yeah, especially like I go out of my way to see all the Oscar short films. So there's animated short, documentary short, and narrative short. And they're released by a company called shorts.tv.
I say, don't they put them on a website now or something like that?
Well, they do, but they also release them theatrically. I always see them in a theater. So I saw all of last year's, and that's how that gives you the edge. If you can be aware of the documentary short, which one is really the best one, or what you think is the most Academy voters will vote for, go see it. They release it in theaters, and it's a fantastic program. There's usually just, there are very few stinkers in the bunch. There's usually one, but
we know you got to get running here. So go ahead. Finish.
I got to run. So
we got a couple of super chats real quick for you. Charger of the Comic number 2 sends in a Canadian $2. Says, Chris, they do say screw you to the audiences. Yeah, that's another one of the problems that Chris kind of.
Like it's like weird. Like I think it's, obviously we talked about like TDS, I just don't remember. I remember celebrities being political. They've always been political, but it was for causes everyone could get behind. It wasn't like choosing a political party. It was literally things that just seem positive, even if
like AIDS or cancer or breast cancer or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. Who is for cancer? Nobody, right? Like
nobody. Exactly.
Cancer, we got to put that's great. Like, get behind that cause. But now the causes that celebrities get behind are tied to one party, and that's wrong.
Well, and they're also controversial too. I mean, I remember at the airport many years ago, a bunch of teenagers had a booth and they said, teenagers for world peace. And I went up to them and I said, sounds like a fair trade to me. And they just all looked at me.
Oh my God, Paul.
I think the moment that the Oscars went off the rails,
Trump
basically
killed a lot of the entertainment industry.
He did, but there's an exact moment, and I can tell you when that moment was, because you had like the Shasheen Little Feather moment and a few other ones, Vanessa Redgrave and stuff like that in the past. Those were nothing compared to the moment when Michelle Williams said, "Here, hold my Bud Light," and she thanked the fact that she could end a pregnancy and have a career.
Right.
That was the moment the Oscars went from being, okay, it's a fun party with some political shit once in a while, to you have literally just jumped the shark and shown us the divide right now.
Well, no, I think Meryl Streep did it earlier. She was very political.
She was political, but she would never say something that would get the headlines.
She got a lot of people riled. There are a lot of people who were pissed off at Meryl Streep in her time. That the Michelle Williams one, that was a unique moment. I totally agree with you.
That to me is the moment where, well, that's the thing though, is you could have all those other moments before that. Yeah, those were moments that were political and they took things, you know, a little too far, but this was the moment where you
Meryl
went
Streep
way
was the
past that.
Ruffalo of her time.
I'm not going to disagree to a point. And the same thing could be said about people like, you know, like Rob Reiner, but at the same time, both of those people can work on their projects without bringing their bullshit to the table. And then they would only talk about it in public and in interviews and shit like that. And same thing with Jane Fonda and such like that.
Oh yeah.
Back in the good old Paul, can I just correct one little thing? You said it was Trump. Trump did it. Actually, Trump didn't do jack shit. It was the reaction to Trump.
No, that's my point. No, that's my
point. He did say the derangement syndrome.
Okay,
yeah.
We do not get Chris out of here.
So that wasn't Trump.
Yeah, no, wasn't. Yes, it was people's reaction to him. I absolutely concur with you.
Yeah.
Juan Carlos Gonzalez Jr. sends in $4.99. Thank you, and says to give Chris street cred, Film Threat magazine was sourced in Breitbart Ebner's book Hollywood Interrupted 20 years ago. He knows Hollywood. Yes, he does. Chris is one of the reasons that I know what I do today about independent film and stuff. He got me plugged into a lot of people. In fact, I think I've thanked you before for introducing me to people like Robert Meyer Burnett through various means and things that used to do back in the day. I'm pretty sure it was a DVD Doomsday that you introduced me to something like that, and I was well aware of Film Threat.
I think I reviewed Free Enterprise.
I think you did.
Yeah, that's great. But no, thanks, Tom. I appreciate it. Look, I've been around a long time, so I've seen the industry evolve and change. I've seen a lot of good, but probably more bad, unfortunately.
Right.
But the one thing that's persevered is indie film has always been around. It's evolved. I think we are on the precipice of this golden age of indie film. I really believe that.
I hope so, Chris, because like I think we're getting there. We're kind of hitting the same kind of moment. It's weird that we're getting a lot of imported Korean, Japanese, and other stuff because this feels like the same thing we were hitting in the late 60s when we started getting a bunch of Italian stuff imported and Japanese stuff imported. And that was when, because the American public was just getting sick and tired of the same old bullshit that Hollywood was shoveling them. And then Easy Rider came along and changed everything. So yeah, we're just waiting for that Easy Rider to come along and change everything.
And I think Easy Rider is a good example because you had reasonably well-known actors involved in an independent movie.
They did it for nothing.
Well, because it was their film. A lot of them wrote it. But I think that's what needs to happen. I mean, not that Jay Baruchel is the biggest actor in Hollywood, but the fact that he lent his acting skills and talent to a very inexpensive movie, Blackberry, really made that a much better movie. And even the guy, Everything is Sunnier in Philadelphia. Was that the show?
Yeah, Everything's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Yeah, he was the antagonist in the movie. And these guys did it for not a lot. I'm sure they didn't ask for a big paycheck. And I think a lot of the independent movies have, if they can start attracting reasonable name stars who want to be in better productions, that's what's really going to jumpstart independent productions.
Yeah.
And we got to let Chris go. But yes, thank you, Chris, for being here. And it's always fun to catch you on a day after a ceremony such as this.
Yeah. Thanks. And also, Paul, I DM'd you those screenshots. If there's anyone else that would like them, I'm happy to share them. There will be a story. I'll DM you the story. It's written by a WGA writer who has had enough. And there's more than one person. People in the WGA have had enough. It's just pushing division and destroying the industry. And everyone's just making less money.
It's trying to circumvent the residual bonus of a successful show at this point.
Yes,
I know exactly what the tactic that they're trying to do. The people that want the residual bonus, the stuff which comes from a good, well-written show that's actually well received, they are basically saying, well, if we do this checklist here, we can then kind of force at least 2 or 3 of those writers into that room so that they can benefit from it's a whole weird conspiracy thing going on at the WGA. I hate,
and I can use that checklist without.
You can use it. You received it. It's public. Also, we're getting I had someone from, obviously I can't say any names of any of these people because they're afraid they'll never work again if they speak out. but someone who is a production designer on a production send me a similar checklist. They're asking all the unions, every single union, to self-identify with a checklist of attributes. When you look at the way that the checklist is laid out, it seems that there is something nefarious. There's never anything good that comes from making lists, in my opinion.
No. A list about people, that's to be like a checklist of things to do is a good list, but a checklist about people's personal identifiable traits or things of that nature, that's one step away from being put on the news for, a crime.
Yes. And did I send it to you, Script?
No, but go right ahead, because I mean,
I did also. So feel free to send it to me as well.
Yes, I will do that. So, but this should break this week. The debate right now, in talking to this writer, is whether they use their name, because if their name is attached to it, they will effectively be nuking their career in Hollywood forever.
Yeah, I understand that's
what's at stake. But I've been trying to convince this person, like, look, if people don't speak out, there won't be an industry to save. People need to speak out, and your bravery and courage in speaking out will encourage others to speak out and go on the record and saying, this pathway is not good for the industry, as we have seen profits. We're looking at a 2024 where we may not see a movie break $1 billion. In the year 2019, there were 7 movies that broke $1 billion. And now we're at 2024, 5 years later, there may not be one film that breaks $1 billion.
I think there's 2 or 3 possibilities, but I know what you're saying, Chris. Yeah.
No, but look, with all due respect to Dune Part 2, and I love it, and I'm all about it. I've been this excited about a movie in a long time. I'm more excited than I was for Endgame. I don't know that is mainstream enough to break $1 billion. I just don't.
The only thing I will say to that is you look at the box office on Godzilla versus Kong and Dune. When those came out simultaneously, they still managed to do almost $500 million while still being on streaming at the same time. So those two, I think, have potential to break $1 billion. And I think Deadpool, if it's good, since it has Hugh Jackman in it, has potential. But those are the only 3 that I would even think about putting money on for next year. But otherwise, I agree with you wholeheartedly. Like those are all 3 of those are still going to be a tall order to break $1 billion.
And maybe Joker 2. We'll discuss.
Yep. That's another wild card, actually, to be honest with you. Joker card. But Patrick Lemire sends in a $4.99 and says, don't watch the Oscars. Watch the Film Threat Oscars. Watch Party instead. It's much better than actually watching the show.
Thank you, Patrick.
I had so much fun with you guys watching the Oscars that year. That was great.
Yeah, so Patrick Lemire, thank you so much. A frequent poster in our Film Threat live streams. Thank you and appreciate that. We just try to have fun. I think we have to do a better job of keeping people up with the categories. So here's the category, here's the winner, and then we'll play clips from social media. But thank you, everybody. I will be back next Monday. I may not be in great shape, but I'll be back. And thank you again. Take care, everybody. Have a great week.
Take care, Chris.
Take care, Chris.
Take care. Bye-bye.
All right, so let's keep moving along here.
Is anyone else seeing weird graffiti around Paul?
I just noticed that he just had confetti. Yeah, not graffiti.
I know.
Sorry, confetti,
I can't believe I had to. This is the first time I think I've ever had to correct script.
No, you've corrected me a number of times, man.
Maybe, but I mean,
because I was probably thinking of spray painting Paul as opposed to.
I know all the secret hand signals for this program.
A couple of you guys have that thing, whatever it is. Yeah. Waltman 4 is here and sends in $4.99. Says Ricky would have brought up the Epstein docs if he had hosted this year. Yeah, that's the thing. They're too afraid of somebody like him, Chappelle. I agree with all you guys. I would love to have any of those guys host, but this is the same reason they never would let Eddie Murphy or Richard Pryor host back in the day either, because they're afraid of what they'll fucking say. That's the problem, because you can't keep those guys on script and they're not going to just go with the flow all the time. And none of those guys would play ball, and that's why they'll never let them host. Now, there's other ways of getting around that, I guess, but at this point, why help them? They're just watch them flail like a fish. That's the way I see it. They had the perfect opportunity. Gervais and Dave Chappelle hosting the Oscars, we'd all watch that, but they would be so scared that they would never let it happen.
Yeah, wouldn't like the increased ratings wouldn't be wouldn't be worth the heart attack or the potential fallout.
Because you know how many celebrities would say they won't show up because one of those two is hosting.
Many.
And they would turn Chappelle into, you know, the transphobe, and they would say that all Ricky's going to do is talk about, like you just said here, the Epstein docs or something like that. So you're going to get
their viewers increase.
Their viewers might, but here's the problem: it's going to be an empty audience. 6. That's what I'm saying, because you're going to have so many of those celebrities that will say, "I'm not showing up if so and so is hosting."
A lot of seat fillers in that audience as opposed to the celebrities.
Because that's exactly what happened to Kevin Hart. And that was barely a rumble. So could you imagine if they had announced, yeah, this year we're going to have Ricky Gervais and Dave Chappelle host the Oscars? They'd lose their fucking minds. Especially Dave Chappelle. Ricky Gervais is bad enough. But Dave Chappelle, they would totally make an example out of him. They'd say he was a transphobe, and they'd come after him 10 times harder than they ever did Kevin Hart.
Chappelle would be a not a good host because he rambles.
Well, I don't think I've ever seen him host anything besides his own show. So I can't.
The SNL intros, he always goes off.
That's what I'm saying. So like that kind of stuff, maybe. But yeah, he doesn't seem like the master of ceremonies.
You need a ringmaster.
Exactly. And I think Ryan Reynolds is one of the ones we brought up here. That was
Ryan
a good
Reynolds
example.
He'd be great.
Especially if he does it as Deadpool here and there and some of the other shit that he does. I think he would be able to pull off some really fun stuff. And that's the other thing I didn't get to bring up because, it was a lot of conversation and crosstalk then. The other thing I missed about the Oscars and some of these other, ceremonies that we don't get anymore is the elaborate like musical productions and shit. I remember during Little Shop of Horrors, they had this huge Audrey 2 puppet thing on stage singing like for the Oscars. Like they used to do that, and you'd have like, whenever there was a Bond movie, of course you had, the lady singing the Bond song and all that kind of stuff. Like that is stuff I miss too. It's like they don't do that anymore. They've really trashed that part of it. There's no showmanship anymore.
Well, also the music from Hollywood movies for an awful long time has just sucked so badly.
It does suck anymore, yeah. Well, that's when the indie craze happened.
Pardon me? What was that script?
Oh, we don't have the magic anymore. Sorry, I spoke over Tom. I didn't hear.
No, I just said that was because of the indie craze, and you got a lot of those really just dour, crappy songs that nobody wanted to sit there and listen to for 6 minutes. That's why.
Yeah, but Ludwig Göransson won a Golden Globe for Best Original Song for Oppenheimer. I believe. And he actually came up with some pretty decent stuff over the last few years, which doesn't get as much attention because for some strange reason, Hollywood doesn't care about the soundtrack anymore.
No, they don't. I mean, the last time I can remember a really fun performance was when Robin Williams had to do Blame Canada.
Yeah.
And that was because Anne Murray couldn't get into the country. Yeah, there's the joke, kids. Since Anne Murray has that line in the song, they had to have somebody to sing the song because South Park got nominated that year. And so they're like, well, let's have Anne Murray do it. See if she'll do it. She said yes.
But she got Anne Murray has got an absolutely phenomenal sense of humor.
She got stuck trying to get into the country. So they couldn't get her into the country on time. So they're just like, what do we do? Well, Robin Williams is there and he's like, well, I know the song or something like that. So
yeah, and Anne Murray made fun of herself on stage during her act.
Yeah, they were so upset because they were totally stoked about having Anne Murray come down and singing Blame Canada on the Oscars. That was the same Oscars that they showed up to on mushrooms and in a dress too, I think.
Yeah, see, that's one of the things I miss about the rare Canadian celebrities that we did have that stayed up here is if you had a skit where they could actually make fun of themselves or their work, they would be very gung-ho for that. We don't have, I can't think of any current generation Canadian celebrity that would be interested in being the butt of a
Ryan
joke.
Reynolds.
Well, I mean, he's not really current. He's been acting for 30 years.
Now still. But he could do the type of stuff that Crystal did, and that's the stuff I miss too. Like the whole intro bits he used to do. Those were some of the more memorable parts of the show too, where he'd either be in some movie or they'd actually bring the actors in to reshoot scenes for a movie and it'd be, him going, I'm late for the Oscars, and that kind of shit. Those were always kind of fun, it just had a momentum to it.
Who would be great to host the Golden Globes would be the kids in the hall.
Back in the day, yeah. I don't know about now.
I'd bring them out now. I mean,
they still got some stuff.
They still perform.
Yeah, they still perform. They still have some stuff in the vault that they could bring out.
Do you remember when
really cool?
Do you remember when Billy Crystal hosted? I'm pretty sure it was the Oscars, and Jack Palance, he either won an award or he was presenting an award, but he started doing one-arm push-ups.
Yes.
And then Billy Crystal ran with that throughout the rest of the award show. He was one of the greats.
That was the year he won for City Slickers.
That
was the year he won for City Slickers. Yes. Because the thing was funny is because I think Billy Crystal came out in a horse that year on stage, and that was upstaged by Jack Palance doing all that. And he kept coming out. You're like, Jack Palance just helped 12 women who had a car broke down outside. He carried the car and the women home at the same time. He's like coming out there just every time he come out and say something like, yeah, he ran with it all night. And you're right. Cause you got Billy, somebody who on their feet could, of course he probably had Bruce feeding him shit in his ear at the same time, Bruce Valanche. But I mean, that's the thing. Those guys were on their feet ready for anything. And they could, even David Letterman did better job than these guys did. And he was the one that was always like, he was horrible. It's like, well, look, I get it. He just did his fucking show for 4 hours. Okay. Like, we get it. So,
yeah, he got nailed unnecessarily for that one Uma Thurman thing.
Oprah, Uma.
It didn't work. But you know what's interesting is, we talk about the lack of stars in Hollywood right now. They don't even have the mid-level stars. Speaking of Jack Palance.
No.
They don't even have that anymore. Although I would say, oh, damn, the guy who just won Best Actor, Giamatti. Giamatti's still around, but we need more people like him.
Yeah.
That's what we need more of.
Yeah, that reminds me of Donald Pleasance. We were talking about him last night.
Pleasance.
Is it Pleasance?
No,
is that how you say it? But yeah, like he was somebody that was always underappreciated in my opinion. And like we were talking about how people thought, he was much more famous than he really was back in the day. If you go back and look at his career, it's like,
Inspector Dreyfus, who would act that if they were doing the Pink Panther now? I can't remember the name of the actor, but
Herbert Lom.
Yeah. I mean,
Herbert Lom was the original Inspector Dreyfus.
Yeah. And who do we have now in Hollywood that could do that? It's this weird. We've completely eviscerated the middle class of interesting actors in Hollywood.
And Dash Attack actually brings up a perfect super chat to segue out of this and on from this topic, because we already know who's hosting. $4.99. He says Kimmel is hosting again. Garbage. Disney controls the Oscars. Kimmel hates the middle class. Absolutely contempt.
But you know why Kimmel is hosting? He's on ABC.
Yeah, that's what he's saying. Yeah, he's Disney controlled. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's why I couldn't believe they didn't have the Avengers host that year. I'm like, it's ABC. You could be promoting your fucking movie while having Robert Downey Jr. and Scarlett Johansson on stage, right? Like, what the fuck are you doing?
Too much money, and chances are one of those two actors would be nominated that year, and they'd rather be watching the show than performing in it.
Well, regardless. No, Kimmel, I believe, is one of the stupidest ideas. It is a divisive choice.
Oh, that's what Disney's all about, though, isn't it?
Divisiveness. And you watch, this year's going to be one of the lowest ratings ever, even though there's movies that people have seen like
Barbie.
Are you telling me that,
in previous years, he didn't do an okay job?
No.
I disagree with you.
He was okay when he's off of Ben Stein and Adam Carolla back then. Like, that's where he was more of his self.
I thought he was okay he's overdone it. But
I think
when
he's
he was
fake as
first
fuck.
doing it, I didn't think he was horrible.
I think he was just riding a wave back then, and he's just a fucking fair weather wave rider. Because Adam Carolla and those guys have maintained who they are. He has not. He has gone with whatever the flow was.
You've
get where he's
him.
At.
He's going to go back to his $800 million hacienda and cry because of what you've said.
I'm sure he doesn't even give two fucks or know who I am. But yes, I get what you're saying, Paul. Yes,
these people don't care.
I know, but that's the beauty of it. They're going to start learning that we don't care about them.
As I've always said, if things had been different and I could have been way more famous and richer, then fuck the little people.
I hate to break most celebrities' hearts, but guess what? I don't cry when most of you die. There's only a few. That touched me in a way that I could say that actually made me shed a tear.
Did Michael Jackson touch you in a way?
Yes, he did.
Okay,
he did, but not for the reasons you're thinking. Because he didn't go to Epstein Island. You didn't read the thing, did you?
No, he didn't. But that one list that was going around was actually a fake list.
Yes,
the one was
fake lists.
But I believe so far from what we've seen, Michael Jackson, Trump, and a few others, they had trips, but they didn't go to the island, so they're kind of off the thing. So
they went to the kiddie ride part.
No, they just used his plane.
They just used his jet. Yes.
Right. I see.
That's what we were getting at. Yes, without getting too deep into the mud here, but yes.
No.
And Kimmel, as far as his participation in that, I'm not discussing that aspect of it because we know that can get.
No, that's not our show. That's not the theme of our show.
But yes, Robin Williams was one of those that really hit me hard.
Yeah,
there's a few, but not many.
Yeah. Nice man.
Yeah, I think that was one that affected a lot of people, though. Whoops. Sutton Creek Productions is here and says congratulations, Midnight's Edge, for 250K subs. Well, thank you, Sutton. Seems like just yesterday we only had like what 30,000-40,000 subs. It's crazy.
Well, it seems a little bit more than that, but
I know
you guys have been working very hard.
Been like one long day. It's just never ends. No, I'm just kidding. I get one day off and I'm sick in bed.
Yeah, I hope you enjoyed your day off.
It was horrible. Mr. Tickle Trunk has been here for 33 months. Thank you for that. What's this button do? Oh, that's what it does. And it did it. Thank you, Mr. TT. We got Bucky Cat here. He's been here for 9 months. It's a baby. Thank you for that, Bucky Cat. Pilgrim Media says, hey, Disney, that dog just won't hunt. That dog won't hunt. That's right. $2 from Pilgrim Media. Thank you for that. And we got Matthias Fredrickson who says, script off topic with, I think that's 20 Swedish krona. What did you do? What did you do on Suicide Squad? Yes, you did work on Suicide Squad in some capacity.
Yes, I worked with props or property, and I coordinated with the set decoration committee, and yeah, that's pretty much, and also some rentals. But yeah,
so
I mostly worked
the
in
famous
props.
knife scene. What did that entail? Did you have anything to do with that crap? Did they make you have?
You're talking about when Jared Leto laid in the center of all those knives? Yeah, I helped arrange all those.
That's what I was thinking.
I'm pretty sure how I laid some of those out, they were really readjusted by the main property master. Because I just had to bring them over. It had a nice little cart, a couple of cases and stuff, locks and keys. None of the knives that I handled were real. They were all very convincing looking, but yeah, it's fun.
Well, we're on the topic of Suicide Squad because David Ayer, the director of that original Suicide Squad, recently gave up any hope of ever having his director's cut released.
Yeah, we had that party on me.
That they strung him along, and eventually he lost faith. Or someone finally told him that, you know what? No, we're not ever going to let that see the light of day. I'm just curious.
You really think anybody strung him along?
Yes, I think he was strung along. I do believe, because he even said that James Gunn had told him, like, yeah, in time or something. So I do believe that he probably was strung along. And then
I think he misinterpreted being told that they were, because this is what James said publicly, is that they're exploring all avenues. So I think that's all he did was just take that as, they're thinking about doing this because they did the Justice League. And I think he got a little too far into his head because of all these people that were feeding it constantly online.
Yes, he had a lot of support from people.
What do you think?
I think he got a lot of public support on social media to something that internally Warner Brothers was like, this might not be, the cost might not be worth the return. And that's just the case. I mean, listen, from my experience on that film, and I was even brought back for the reshoots. So I worked there twice, even though I'm not credited. My art department was brought back. Everybody liked Ayer, and I never got a chance to meet him. But everybody liked working with him and stuff. The only thing that they were upset with is that they thought the movie sucked. Like they knew they were making something that was crappy. And that's
from what you said,
that other than him.
And I was going to say, from what you said in the past, at least from my interpretation of that, correct me if I'm wrong, please. Basically, all the stuff that you know of that didn't make it into the movie doesn't make the movie all that much better anyway.
Not in my opinion, no.
Yeah. And I think that's just it. I think that there's been this idea put out there that this movie is so much different. When, let's be real, kids, the extended cut that's on the DVD and Blu-ray, from my knowledge, isn't that basically his cut down version that they did? And then the theatrical cut is the one that the editors from
the trailer editors
did. So we've kind of seen part of his version. That's that other version that's on there, right? It's just,
remember,
that's the truncated version of it.
Unlike with Justice League, another director did not come in and reshoot the movie without him. He reshot it, and he worked in the process of the rewrites too that were required of him as well. Now, one of the things that always kind of threw me off, which was kind of weird, is that he kept on saying Deadpool was the inspiration for the Suicide Squad changes. But everyone that I was talking to on the set, the whole reason we came back for reshoots was because of Guardians of the Galaxies, which came out the year before. And that's what they were comparing it to. And that's what the trailer.
That's what everybody was comparing the trailer to. Yeah.
The trailer was compared to as well. So I don't know where he's getting this Deadpool crap from.
Yeah, I don't know either. But no, I think the other funny thing about this is, look, from what you've said, Script, and my understanding of this situation, it would not take nearly the extensive work that it took for the Justice League to be finished either. So the fact that DC is not even willing to go forward with just probably at most maybe a couple $1 million worth of work to finish this film tells me that they're not interested in putting another version out there in the public. That means that they have done the numbers on HBO Max. The older versions have not gotten enough views. It is not tracking as well on, social media as David Ayer and some other people want to think. That's the other thing is, like, the Snyder crew have already been busted using bot farms and publicity departments and other things to try and push this thing. And it's not, we've said it, and I've been told by several people, it's not nearly as many people as they like to pretend it is. So, like, at the end of the day, I think this thing is done. And I think that this was kind of just a signal sent across the board that, yeah, we're not doing any more of these Snyder cut, Ayer cut, anything related to the
There's
Snyder.
not going to be a Schumacher cut either.
Shit, yeah. Well, you can almost make your own Schumacher cut. That's the stupid thing about that.
Almost all the footage is available to everybody. Yeah.
That's what they did. That version that Kevin Smith saw, guess what? You can do that yourself. All that is all the deleted scenes that are on the DVD just put back into the movie. That's all it is. See, I thought it was something special, and then when I found that out, I'm like, oh no, we're not getting anything out of that. That's just hopium being pushed by some fucking people that think that there's something here when it's not going to happen. That's where I think people were maybe misinterpreting when Gunn was saying, yeah, we're exploring all avenues. Well, yeah, this is done. They're not going to spend any more money after Bad on this. And this is one of the few DC movies to actually probably make money at the time. Why would they try to even bother losing money on this movie?
Yeah, the only director's cut that was taken away that's worth anything is Richard Donner's Superman 2. It's the only one.
And even that needs work.
Even that needs work, but that one actually made money because it was pre-sold on the DVD side of things and Blu-ray side of things. They were able to.
And that was the problem with the Snyder cut, and I pointed this out to several people. That is the only movie that I know of that lost money twice. And other than maybe Morbius, but they didn't add anything to Morbius to where you could say, oh, they spent more money on it. No. Snyder cut, they spent more money on, and they sold less than half the amount of Blu-rays that the original Justice League did. And they didn't even get a theatrical release to recoup any money whatsoever on it. So whatever they can calculate that they got from Max subscribers, which, as we've been told, over 60% of them quit watching it anyway, I don't think they really gained anything out of that. So I can distinctly say that is the only movie in history that has lost money twice on the same movie, because they spent more after the fact and lost more. But anyway,
they spent enough to make a good superhero movie after
another movie altogether. Exactly. Yeah. $90 million.
Well, speaking of Highlander briefly, here's an interesting stat. I think in 2021 or 2022, Highlander was making $3+ million a week on DVD sales.
There you go.
Yeah.
Oh, it's one of the biggest DVD video sellers ever. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why I have like 5 copies, Paul.
In 2020,
but there can only be one, Tom.
Well, but it's amazing. No. But
I know
$3 million+ a week during I don't know how long it was selling for that amount, but in 2020, it's a 1986 movie, and holy shit, that's like insane. $3 million a week.
This is why, Paul. This is the same thing with music right now, actually. See, this is why I have 5 copies of this bitch. And that's not even all of them. I think there's been more that I didn't get all of, right? Like, that's my point. They keep releasing because people buy them. It's the same thing with music now. Most people don't buy new music anymore, but classic albums are popping up all the time. In fact, this Christmas, which one was it? I can't remember. Was it Rockin' Around the Christmas Tree by Brenda Lee, right? It hit #1 for the first time ever on the Billboard chart. A 60-some+ year old song. Because people are not buying into the new stuff, but they are collecting up the old stuff. And the same thing with movies, and that's why people are all hyped up on like the Cameron films finally being released on 4K and Blu-ray in some cases, like with True Lies, that have never even seen Blu-rays before. So, but anyway, yeah, Highlander's a big seller for them on video. It made all its money back on DVD and Blu-ray. I don't know if that was what you were headed towards there. Sorry.
Well, I mean, if you're averaging, say, 156 million a year on just DVD Blu-ray sales, that's a pretty big win for you because that's covering your overhead and then some.
Well, that's what Matt Damon was talking about, right? That's where he was.
That essentially is gone from most movies except for the odd one.
Yep. No, you're 100% correct, Paul. And most movies, if they're lucky, they maybe can pull in 30, 40 million now on disc sales. That ain't shit compared to what they used to do. Because as I've pointed out, The Lion King made just as much on VHS, just VHS alone, as it did in the box office at theaters. And Disney got to keep a lot more of that money.
Absolutely. They took my money.
Yeah. And that's not even counting when they got to DVD and all that stuff. Because now I think at this point, the home video sales of the original Lion King have eclipsed the box office by like twofold, I think, when you add in the DVD and Blu-ray sales and all that shit. And the re-releases and all that stuff. But yeah. No, they don't know how to do that shit anymore in Hollywood. But let's get back to the super chats. Bucky Cat says with $5, who's Ayer going to send to oversee Obaid-Chinoy? Obaid-Chinoy. I know I keep saying
Kevin, technically, Dave Filoni is going to be a part of that. Yeah. But I wonder if she is going to remain on the roster, so to speak. Part of me
that's what I was saying. Yeah.
I mean, I think, yes, Disney is going to make this movie come hell or high water.
Yep.
But I'm wondering, will she get the Patty Jenkins treatment?
Because remember, this is the Damon Lindelof project, too. This was.
Well, no, this is the one that he pitched to try and get to the assignment to write, and they said no. I mean, remember, they literally rejected him and said, no, you're not coming near Star Wars.
But my point was, wasn't there another director attached then? Wasn't it I think it was a black guy, wasn't it?
There's another director attached as well. They, I guess, went into
I'm trying to remember his name.
Part. But what I remember distinctly is that there was talks of not necessarily a Rey movie, but another Star Wars film. And Damon Lindelof started a lobby to get that job, and they turned him down. And we've now learned that job was the Rey film, the Rey movie that was announced at Disney D23 or whatever it was. So that's funny, but that's one good sign in regards to the industry, is that Damon Lindelof is going to have a difficult time getting work. Thank God, because he's terrible at what he does. But number two, it's like, well, if they didn't get him, then they don't really have a script. And since they haven't announced an actual writer, they are very far behind on getting this put into production and getting this made. And in addition, the only movie that we'll probably see first before this one might be the Dave Filoni thing, but I don't know if that's going to theaters. That just might be the Disney Plus feature film special, right? Or is my information mixed on that for Dave Filoni's feature film?
I think here's the thing with the Dave Filoni thing. I don't know if it's two separate projects or if it's just the one project that he's doing is that culmination movie with that's supposed to be the loose adaptation of
Heir to the Empire. Yeah.
Heir to the Empire or whatever. So I don't know if that's supposed to be just one movie or if that's going to be some big thing on Disney Plus, or if he has another project that is supposed to be a theatrical movie, because I don't remember the announcement now, because I don't really give a shit anymore. That's the problem. I give more of a crap about the new Highlander coming out. That's where I'm at. As I see people talk about it in the chat, that's why I just said it, because I'm just like, any random thing in the world, I'm more worried about my lamp right now than I am Star Wars. Yeah, so I can't answer that unless anybody else has the answer for that. But yeah, I can't remember what's all been announced anymore. I quit keeping count at some point. But yeah, whoever is producing, as far as the main producer, so probably Filoni, as script pointed out, I'd imagine. And Dash Attack says
it would be fun to work on the script for the next Highlander to just make sense of that first movie, because we don't know why he's an immortal. We don't
tried to answer that in part 2, and we learned the lesson of that. Don't answer that question.
Yeah, don't answer. It doesn't need to be answered. That's actually one of the beauties of that script. but we don't know where. Who's the bad guy? Zardork or Kardor?
The
Kurgan.
The Kurgan. Where'd the Kurgan come from, and why are they immortal? There's a lot of things that aren't answered in the.
They don't need to be.
Yeah.
No, there's one sort of species of immortal. They can be men or women, but there's someone has within their culture talked of a story called the prize, and that's what people are seeking out, and that's why they're killing each other over it.
Yep.
And that's the whole point. The Kurgan was
they're
one that just wants the prize, and other immortals have no care for it. They just want to live their lives.
And the Kurgan was supposedly one of the oldest of the immortals, and that's why he's so strong, because every time an immortal defeats another immortal, they absorb their strength or whatever, and
and blow up 1970s
that's called
large
the quickening,
cars.
Yes. Which actually it depends on which definition, because at several times throughout the movie they call the feeling you get when you're near an immortal the quickening, or they call that moment where you kill an immortal and gain their it's both. I guess
it's both. Yeah.
And then there was a gathering, and then they showed the black guy once on the bridge, and then fighting the Kurgan, and that was it. What happened to him? Obviously, he was lost in the edit.
He died, but the thing is, the idea was that McLeod and that guy, they weren't even gonna fight. They had no interest in fighting. That was what I liked about it. It's like they were there. Okay, we're just gonna live here.
They were part of the gathering.
Yes, which would be New York.
That's what I hated about the fourth one, man.
Together. Yeah.
Because my biggest issue with the fourth one was you had an immortal who was breaking all the fucking rules, plus all the immortals were breaking all the rules anyway to begin with. And this whole thing boiled down to rules. And you had fucking, Connor going, you have to kill me so you can take all the power so you can actually defeat this guy. It's like, why don't you all just fight him together, since he was breaking the rules since the beginning? Why don't you all just break the rules now? Like, at this point, it's like, what the fuck?
I thought in the first movie, McLeod had to cut off oh, god damn it, the other guy, Ramirez's head. I thought he had to cut his head off. I wasn't entirely sure that you could have more than one immortal.
No, you can. That's the whole thing. Is there's some that are friendly, some that are not, right? There's no real like factions or anything. Like in the series, they get deeper into it, but like that's the thing is, when they made the first movie, it was just like this one-off thing that they didn't expect it to do anything. It flopped, like you said, in theaters for the most part, but it did very well in the UK and I believe Australia. And then when it hit video and HBO, it just took off,
went nuts.
Yeah, and it was one of those movies that you'd always see it on WGN or TBS, and it was just constantly there throughout the 80s. And then the TV series happened after they tried to do that atrocious sequel.
Yeah.
And the TV series is what caught on because women loved Duncan. And when it was shown outside the US, they had unedited versions, so they got to see all the sexier bits.
It was a good show. It wasn't just candy.
It had a great combination that both men and women could enjoy. That was one of those rare shows that it had the romance and the sexy men for the women, and it had the sexy women and the action for the men. And it just happened to work just right. My only complaint with the show is they didn't have Connor involved enough. He's only in the first episode and that's it. It's like, why didn't you bring him in more often? But yeah. Because then they went and made Highlander 3 at the same time as the series, and it kind of completely avoids the series. Yet I think there's like one character in the movie from the series, but it doesn't acknowledge that, and it's really weird. And it's like, so you get to this weird point where there's such convoluted, diverting Highlander shit that we've had like 6 movies now, and none of them are any good but the first one. That's really what it boils down to, Paul.
Well, I mean, the one beautiful thing about the first one is that it didn't try to explain the shifts from the past to the present. They were vignettes of his life from the past, which I thought was very funny.
Well, that's the gimmick of the whole thing, right? Is you get to see, and that was the other thing, was the director. He wanted to do the transitions on it. But I mean, we need to move on here. Dash Tax says with the 199, everyone will watch part 2 and the D cut. Are you talking about Rebel Moon?
Rebel Moon? Yeah, right.
Yeah, no, I don't think so. Matthias Fredrickson sends in 20 Swedish krona and says, Chato, thanks. Snyder's rambles scared me for years.
Wow. I couldn't believe it.
He's something else.
Wow.
Mr. Burger is here. Sends in $10 and says, why do normies support Disney? Corporate media hates you. Support the Mr. Burger animated series, folks. I'll take your money, and I don't hate you. Bonus, Tom's voice is in it. Yeah. Mr. Berger's actually a very talented animator. I got some ideas.
Yeah, go sub to Mr. Berger. He has a cool channel.
Fun. A lot of fun. One fan, in fact, we should have Mr. Berger on Mead. I should facilitate.
Oh, he'd be a blast.
I think so. One fan sends in $4.99, says, "You're correct. The writer of the Star Wars Holiday Special is Parsec's funny than last night." Yes. For those who don't know, Bruce Valanche was one of the writers.
Yeah.
On the Star Wars Holiday Special.
But he was absolutely the wrong writer for it.
Yeah. Because he did like variety shows.
Yeah, he
like
did
the
the
Oscars
stuff.
and shit. Yeah.
No, this is
the vaudeville kind of shit. Yeah.
Old Hollywood, coming up to
take my wife, please, kind of shit. Yeah. Not exactly that old and bad, but you know what I mean.
But
kind
it's
of the
like
stickier stuff.
It'd be more like Debbie Reynolds coming up to it. He could write a Debbie Reynolds joke.
Yes. Stickier stuff. Like
funny because that's Carrie Fisher's mom.
Yes. How ironic that
ironic. That would be funny. Didn't you say you also worked on the holiday special in some capacity?
No, the director of our Frantics TV
That's
show.
right. That's what it was. Okay.
Was the director for it. And George Lucas loved our TV show so much that they wanted our director.
I like your show.
It didn't like us.
Makes me laugh.
Although I did get my role as an Ewok because I kept swearing after my take was done. And I just kept ripping into Lucas. Is my take done? Oh my God, I hope I don't work with that fuckhole. I hear he's a douchebag. I just kept on going.
Don't worry about that.
So, and apparently Lucas heard my tape and hired me.
I'll fix that.
Yeah, he listened to every actor who auditioned for the Ewoks.
Is that why you only worked a year? No.
That's all. I got one job out of it.
Well, like I said, they changed shit during the second season. That's why.
I know.
They got really dumb. I hated it. Ezekiel Crow sent in $5, says, "Only one Native American has ever received an Oscar, Wes Studi, and it was an honorary one, just so you know." Well, there you go. Well, this wasn't the Oscars. This was the Golden Globes. And look, that's all fine and dandy, but it's like, if that's what you're going to sit there and virtue signal on, like, whatever.
You have to increase the funnel somehow. People need to get an opportunity, and they have to be passionate about it. And there are a lot of First Nations people up here in Canada who are making movies now. Although it's all under the government largesse, and no one is watching them.
Well, because also parts of getting the funding from the Canadian government is that you technically don't have control over distribution.
Correct.
Mm-hmm. Well, I swear it was like Denzel Washington or somebody. I think it was him who said something about that one time when somebody was asking him about whether enough black people have been nominated for Oscars and all that shit. He's like, well, they need to do better work or something like that. I can't remember if it was him or not. Because I think it was during the whole Spike Lee shit when he was bitching and pissing and moaning. Because, Denzel, he's been nominated a couple times, and so has a few other people, and he pointed that out himself. And it's like
same with Morgan Freeman too. He said
Morgan Freeman.
Yeah,
maybe it was Morgan. Maybe it was Morgan. Yeah. You're right.
Well, just typical of you white people to pick on a black guy that
I know, right?
Supports your position. Yeah.
No. But the point was sound
on behalf of all black people. I'm just
of course.
saying.
Well, you're quarter black, right? So you're quarter black, Paul?
No, I'm not even a fraction.
I've got a little black in me.
Well,
you do, eh?
Right now, or
when's he leaving?
Yeah.
As soon as the show is over.
Kitty Bear 666 sends in $2 on the Rumble side of things. Thank you, Kitty Bear. Says, what do a pregnant Ray, a burnt pizza, and a frozen bear have in common? They got pulled out too late, and whoever did it is evil. Oh. That's a Bruce Valanche joke for you. Toga free or Tog free sends in $4.99. Says, Script Doctor, I remember in the past you hinted that Snyder isn't 100% a saint. Can you spill the beans?
No. Sorry. I mean, I appreciate the super chat, but I'm not. Listen, there's lots of rumors and lots of conjecture. Some of it is verifiable, but I'm not going to fuel such a fire. Let the authorities do that.
Ooh, that's that bad? Yikes.
Listen, I wouldn't say it's that bad. I would just say that any sort of controversy that's circulating around with Zack Snyder, all the parties that I know involved all consented to do what they did. Put it that
And
way.
Well, you even make it
included-
sound even more salacious. Sorry,
well,
Paul.
it included Tonka.
Well,
toys.
more and less at the same time, since they all consented to it.
Yeah. If they all
What about
consented to it, there's
Tonkas?
nothing.
Salacious.
The only thing you can do is just judge them for consenting. That's it.
Correct.
Exactly.
It can be
Then
salacious, but it not criminal.
Yeah.
Right,
Then,
exactly.
then no crime has happened.
Yeah.
Well, you said authority, so that gets implies.
Yeah.
Mark's
With the way
47
that
and
they're doing it now. It's like, yeah.
Mark's 47's been here for 33 months. Thank you for that. Storm King sends in a $9.99 super chat and says, "Do you think Hollywood would go back to the well of the 70s television shows to remake as movies, a la Fantasy Island or Charlie's Angels? Surprise, there hasn't been a $6 million man reboot. We've already had this, Storm King."
Well, we do have a not Reynolds,
No,
a Ryan Gosling,
yeah. Free Guy.
remake of
Fall
Guy. Fall Guy. Sorry. Yeah.
And we had Charlie's Angels a couple years back and in the 2000s, and back then in the 90s, we had a lot of these. In fact, they've been trying to make a $6 million man. Kevin Smith was attached to a $6 million man reboot back in the 90s.
We had
Is how
Bionic
long they've
Woman.
been.
There's
And Bionic
never
Woman
been a
too, yeah.
period of Hollywood post the Second World War where they haven't remade a movie or attempted to remake another movie.
Or a TV
Remakes
show
are
into a
par
new movie.
for the
yeah.
course in Hollywood.
and if it wasn't for the fact that it's so overdone and you had Fringe, I would love to see a time tunnel.
I think
Oh,
the only
God,
time
yeah.
it worked really well was when you had basically the Addams Family era going into Mission Impossible, ending with Charlie's Angels. That's kind of when it ended. That whole era is probably the best era we've ever had.
But what I mean,
and we'll ever
Voyage
probably
to
get.
the Bottom of the Sea, Time Tunnel.
No,
I
but I'm
mean-
talking about these actual movies that are made off of
Right.
these old TV shows, because that's the only era I can think of where the Addams Family, the Brady Bunch, the Beverly Hillbillies, they were actually pretty well done. Even Mission Impossible, considering what it does to the classic characters from the show. I mean, and then Charlie's Angels was extremely popular with
With Charlize Theron and Drew Barrymore and Lucy Liu, yeah.
that's the one. Yeah, I was trying to think of who was in it. But yeah, all them ones. So like
McG.
Yep, McG. Yep.
Who would later
Bill
go
Murray
and
was in the first
watch,
one too, yeah.
Well, there are a lot of television shows that would make a good movie. Even the Sybil Shepherd, Bruce Willis TV
Moonlighting.
show.
Yeah.
Moonlighting.
Well,
It's
they
a
tried
great
here
premise.
recently again, but what they did was they turned around and like made Fantasy Island a fucking horror movie. And the Charlie's Angels movie completely botched it, for instance. And again, they've been trying and trying and trying with $6 Million Man. For a while, it was called like the $6 Billion Man, I think. But yeah.
I think they did a Love Boat, but it was reality.
They did a
based.
Love Boat too. You're right. Yes, 6. They did that one too. Yeah.
Where's Aaron Spelling when you need him?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll get
I think
all my
he's
stuff
in a
off.
grave somewhere, but
Tori's
there's
not
lots you
helping.
can do.
Yeah.
On the other hand, I'm re-binging the Queen's Gambit, and I am so enjoying it the second time around. I don't know what you thought of it, Script, but holy Jesus, it's the one show where the one individual is both the protagonist and the antagonist.
well,
That's is that the Anna Taylor-Joy chess?
Yeah.
Yeah. God, yeah, I gotta go back and check. that
Oh
out,
my
too.
God, is it good? Whoa, it is so freaking good. I wish
yeah, I'm being
everything was good.
informed here that the $6 Billion Man is still in pre-production hell or development hell or whatever
It
you want
needs
to
to
call
be
it.
6 trillion now.
And Mark Wahlberg was the last person attached to it.
Ah,
There you go.
Hmm.
But yeah, as far as
RoboCop already like a functional remake of that?
basically in a lot of ways, like that's the thing. And again, we may come back around where we get a nice era where they do that again. I think that
Yeah.
was an accidental, like,
you know what?
Just-
The only way they could remake that properly is to just go back to the same era when it was done, so it's real gear porn, as
Yeah.
opposed to the amazing kind of stuff potentially they could do with literally they'd be turning him into an android, right?
Yeah.
So
Cyborg.
that would be less interesting to me.
I see where you're coming from. That's one of the ones I could take exception to, but otherwise I agree with you on for the most
Oh, you
part
could
on a lot of
disagree with me
those.
all you want. I don't care.
No. I'm just saying because, like, again, I just don't feel like the chances of us having another era like that 90s into the early 2000s, because the one that really probably killed it was that Starsky and Hutch with Ben
Comedy.
Stiller and
What about Lost in Space? That also was.
that was another one that helped kill that whole fucking.
Yeah,
fad.
that was a terrible remake.
That's the thing is you're just gonna have another. Whenever we get one of these whenever they do one of these and it hits big, that's when we'll get another one of these ages, Storm King. That's basically the answer to your question.
Because the only thing that remains of that is actually Mission Impossible, because as you mentioned, the first one came out at that specific era.
Yep.
But we didn't get any more. We basically just got that one franchise out of it.
Addams Family is probably the only other arguable one, and the only reason we didn't get any more out of
but
that
was
is
a limited thing.
Raul Julia passed, and it was just what it was. But yeah, those are the only two that were really arguably hits. The rest were in between, meandering and whatever. And there's a few that I enjoyed, like Beverly Hillbillies, but most critics hated. So like, I just felt it was
the
perfectly
Casper the
casted.
Ghost movie with the Monty Python guy was actually a family favorite. We played that an awful lot with Eric. With
it was Bill
Eric
Pullman and Christina.
Oh, Casper. Oh, okay, yeah. That one was actually. That one did very well, actually. The first one did pretty well in theaters.
Yeah, the first one. We loved it. We loved that one.
Yeah, Richie Rich was another one at that time that did okay. The Flintstones did very well.
Oh, yeah.
That's another one. There was a few at that in that era. I just don't know if there's many left. And again, that was just pure. A lot of that was the cast. Like they just knew how to grab the perfect cast for a lot of those.
They brought back the Equalizer.
Yep.
A couple times now, yeah. Well, and I just watched the third one again the other night, and it's fucking brilliant. But yeah,
it is good, eh?
Fucking great. And it's it's only 1 hour and 48 minutes long too,
and it didn't do well in the theaters considering.
It did okay. Sadly, and not enough, I think, to get another movie. But I think if it ends there, I'm fine with that. And then I watched, then I revisited the Agatha Christie one again this weekend too.
Oh, Murder in Venice or Haunting in Venice?
Haunting in Venice, yeah.
Yeah, I want to see that.
Oh, I think you'll enjoy that one, Paul.
Yeah, I hear
really
it's good.
Really good.
Another Fox movie that Disney has buried and decided really not to do much with.
You're telling us. We had conversations with people about that. I don't know if we could say very much about that right now.
We'll delay that for the time being. But
yeah, like I said, we'll keep going.
Yes, we will. To that one. Yeah.
Yeah, but we're losing some people here soon, so we got to get through
the
super chats. We got a member of chat from Kitty Bear for 26 months. Thank you for that. Did you have to take off right away, Paul? Or?
Yeah, I do.
Do we have any specifically for Paul then?
We do not. We've done all.
Okay.
What? You fuckers.
Well, we can pretend that this one's for you.
Okay, thank
Hollywood
you.
Apocalypse sends in 35 South African rands and says, Paul, the Oscars lost credit for me when Cinderella Man not nominated for anything other than a technical category.
Cinderella Man was the best. What can I say? And thank you very much for specifically mentioning me for this tweet. It makes this super chat, because it makes me feel much better, because that's all that's important, is to make me feel good.
This is spoken like a man of Hollywood.
Will that help me get a TV Guide episode faster?
I am working on it, actually. I'm in the middle of writing it.
Good. I miss them. I have a popcorn maker now, so I can actually literally make popcorn, sit down, and watch you do the TV Guide thing. And what's perfect about it is they're the perfect little portions too, so I'm not being a fat
I will I will work on it today.
Mr. Tickletron sends in another Canadian $2, says, Paul Chato, here's one for you. Not get lost.
Okay.
Love.
Thanks, Mr. Tickletron. You're great. That's the best $2 ever spent.
But I'm sure you got some appalling news and some other things you're working on.
I got stuff coming up. Don't worry. It's being written now. Talk to you later, everyone.
All right. Well, take care of yourself.
You're wonderful.
All right. So let's keep running here. We got a few more to go through. Deleted Scenes has been a member for 32 months. Says, Hail Midnight's Edge panel mods and chat. Congratulations on 250K subs. Sorry, I couldn't join you in live as my schedule for the day will not allow it. Dropping a like will catch the replay now on 300K and beyond. Oh, yes. Thank you so much, Steven. And thank you for all the help you and the other mods give us all throughout the year. And Six, of course, as well, for all the extra help she does with producing, all the background work and wrangling of cats, and all that business. You even got credit last night on the show for doing just that.
I love cats.
You do. So thank you so much for that, Steven. And then we got Shinats.
Cats are not going to wrangle themselves.
They are not.
Right.
Yeah.
And they're traps. I actually had a visual aid of that, and I'll show that if we got time. Shinatsky sends in a buck. Yeah, I did. Shinatsky sends $1.99, says final draft introduced inclusivity report. RIP
Oh God,
Final
yeah.
Draft. Yeah, I remember you guys talking about this script. Go ahead.
Final Draft is the industry standard screenwriting software, and there a lot of screenwriters have been giving them a little bit of a pushback on this, which is nobody cares about the inclusivity report. In fact, Final Draft up until a few years ago had some of the best writing
Before you
content.
go into the comment, can you tell us what is this inclusivity report?
Oh, it's basically the same thing of like, well, you can factor in what the check boxes that you want to have and select when it comes to your not just signing up with Final Draft and whatnot, because it's a one-time purchase type of deal. But to get more into the point, as I was saying before you asked that question, which is Final Draft had one of the best contests out there called Big Break. So if you're an amateur screenwriter, you want to get a little bit of an inside scoop, you could write a screenplay using their software. You could submit it to them, and you have a chance that you'd be getting read by actual industry professionals, and you had a chance of actually getting representation, or at least getting some meetings that could help you shape a prosperous career in Hollywood. Then they included an inclusivity report, which basically meant that if you didn't fit into certain categories, so to speak, you probably just killed your chances of getting to the next step through some of their contests and through some of their programs that they have for assisting and helping screenwriters. I mean, I still swear by the software itself as it's good, but some of the people that have included themselves into the Final Draft company and provided this type of thing is actually doing damage, not just to them as a company, but to the industry overall. And I think perhaps there might be I have to do some more research into it, but there might be some overlap between the people who created the inclusivity report for Final Draft and the people who have pushed the WGA to do this inclusivity registration thing on their internal website. So I'll have to research more into that. But yes, it's so dumb to do such a thing. But yeah.
Yeah. Now, I think you said also you had the option of turning it on or off or something like that as well. But
yeah. Well, the thing is, it's not mandatory. Like with anything at Final Draft, they don't compel you to do anything in their software or programs. It's you open it up, you start typing, and you're doing your job.
But if you don't check off certain boxes, though, you're saying you're disqualified from certain contests.
But that's for entering a contest with them, their Big Break contest. If you click that you are, if you register that you're a single white male, they will probably that's tipping your hand, and they'll probably not give you the priority that they would otherwise, which was, they submitted a script, we give it priority. Now it's this straight white man who submitted a script. Well, we'll push it over to the side, and we'll get to it after we get through all the ones that meet the diversity, equity, and inclusion stuff.
But you identify as Canadian.
Yeah, that actually, since the dawn of Hollywood, that's always been a negative.
I know, I was being. But all right, well, I think hopefully that answers that. For those who are curious about that.
Wasn't a question. That was just a statement. But yes.
It gets into that anyway.
Gets into that, yes. We'll see what happens in the future on that. I don't think it's going to last very long, actually. This is going to be, as I said before, 2024 is going to be the year where we'll see an adjustment in Hollywood, but we're going to get very, very close to that final moment that you are predicting, Tom. Like, it's coming. I think it's right over the horizon right now.
It's going to be Disney. It's going to sound like a mouse. Yes. And speaking of mice, this is what I was talking about before. No matter how much you want to rub the belly, don't do it. It's a trap.
It's a trap.
It is. Every time. Just keep that in mind. So with that, service announcement out of the way to save your hands from cats. We got a tipping barn here who sends in a member chat for 14 months. It says, happy quarter century, guys. Here's to another 6 years of everyone stepping all over everyone's lines. Yes, indeed. That's a typical day here at Midnight.
That's what we do.
Yes, indeed.
That's how we roll.
Dark Hierophant, I think that's how you say that. Thank you for the $2. Says they use NPC celebs. May as well use AI to host. Hey, there you go. That's a good idea. Get Beavis and Butthead to host.
Well, they certainly wouldn't be any worse than some of those other guys that they actually do have hosting.
Right? That's boring. Change it.
And thus ended the Oscars.
Joel Rice sends in member chat for 30 months. Thank you so much. Congratulations on the milestone. Long overdue and well deserved. Well, thank you. And onward to 500K. Yes, we can hope. Indeed. And we're going to be doing some changes around here to try and help that. So hopefully that will work. Days to Come sends in $1.99, says, was the Miami Mall Aliens a Super Bowl commercial? No, I think it was a big distraction. But yeah, that was just a big bunch of dumb shit. I don't know if you heard about this, Andre, or anybody else on the panel, but I know very little about it.
I saw the headline, but I did not see the video.
There was no real video. That's the stupid part. The only video that I saw was like all these cop cars and shit all around surrounding the area. And I guess from what I'd heard, and again, I know very little about this, so please don't quote me as any kind of news source on this or anything like that. Basically, is that some fight had broken out at the mall between groups of people from a urban persuasion, let's say. And
oh, it was this thing.
There was some gunfire. Yeah. There was some gunfire involved, possibly, and that's probably why the police response was what it was. But some story started circulating that there was some aliens fighting at the mall. I have no idea. Maybe they meant illegal aliens. That's what it was. No, I don't know. I have no idea. No, this is a story that went around, and again, don't quote me on it. Yes, well, yeah, aliens. It's kind of funny that this all started happening at the same time. This story about a certain island list making its way around.
Yeah, funny how that works.
Funny how every time something like that happens.
That was some timing.
Every time we have something like that happening, it's like aliens. Look, aliens. You know how we said there was no aliens? There's aliens.
I only saw this alien story on TMZ.
Yeah.
It's not like it's on CNN. Well, maybe it is. I don't know.
Aliens are among us. That's right. I sent you the link if you're not busy, Flash, but if you are, no worries. I know you got the youngin. But Olaf is here as well. Thank you, Olaf, for the member chat. So congrats, guys, on 250K. Did you see last week we were close? Oh, thank you for that. Now we need, that's right, Sadie. Now we need to get Meat up 25K next. Thank you for that. If you haven't subbed to After Dark yet, do so now, please. Yes, it is a separate channel. It's not the same channel as this. And we do stream on there as well. And Sadie likes it over there, don't you? Yeah, because then you talk and everybody hears you. Yeah. We got Ray Barker here. Speaking of Barkers, send in $5. Go ahead and read this, Andre. I think Sadie wants to go outside.
Yeah, certainly. We cannot let get in the way of the doggy. Ray Barker says for $5. One of Andre's recent videos mentioned Charmin Obaid-Chinoy does not have a film degree, and Disney wonders why they keep losing money. Yeah, well, I would even say that the fact that she does not have a film degree is the least of problems with her, because they have other people working behind the scenes that are perfectly capable of directing this thing with or without her. She doesn't even need to be on the set. It's her other attributes which are of far greater concern.
Yeah, but she has a bachelor's degree in, I think, economics, and then 2 master's degrees in foreign policy or
political science
or something.
That's really going to help in making the movie. That's
well, the thing is, it helps for a documentary because essentially, with very few exceptions, most documentaries are manipulative narrative over reality. That's what they are. Someone has a specific agenda they want to push. They shoot a documentary and cherry pick information to formulate that opinion. And you know what? That works for what it is. Most people who watch documentaries understand that is going to be the point. It's a limited perspective. It's not very objective over a subject matter. It's designed to elicit a specific response. There's value to that when it comes to doing fiction. However, you can't just jump from a documentary about an oppressive government on a certain minority of people to a multi-$100 million special effects driven tentpole film. You have that's a huge leap and it requires certain skill sets that you will definitely not learn in film school anyways. I'm sorry to tell you that you only learn the very basics in normal film school. Even if she were to have a degree in film, if she's never worked on something that experimented with special effects in any capacity and hasn't done it for many years, she is not ready for the level that is required of her under a typical tentpole film. The film school itself is just to get you familiar enough with the way things are, the terminology, the obvious mistakes that are made by first-time filmmakers so you don't repeat them, so that when you go onto a set, you are competent enough to learn and not hinder a production. That is essentially what film school is for you. And that's why the better programs are like a year or 2 years in length, and the ones that are just stealing from you are greater than that in length.
Yeah, that sounds about right. I mean, learning film is, I mean, I've heard filmmakers in Norway say that honestly they can do better with someone that has worked at what would translate to like the local T-Mart or something, who's just really good and paying attention and who is professional at what they do, than someone who's gone to film school. Because
Exactly.
you have to learn everything from scratch anyway.
Like the film schools that I went to, I took all the single year programs because that's all you needed. And I spent the rest of my years taking actual subjects like English history, English literature, basic
stuff that's going to
economics.
prepare you, give you the life experience and the foundation to actually be a storyteller.
Yes, and things that allow me to, properly do my taxes and understand how to negotiate contracts. I mean, one of the things that has annoyed a lot of the people that have hired me is I don't always get lawyers to help negotiate my contract because I'm negotiating way better than they can anyways, because I understand the language. I spent years in college learning that as a value, but I still, without their knowledge, I consult a lawyer privately to make sure that I've done the job before I sign the dotted line. And that's something that always intimidates them because they're like, okay, we're dealing with someone who's not a moron, even though I think I am in a lot of sense. And
but here's the thing: as long as they don't think so, it doesn't matter what you know; it's a matter of what they think.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's the key difference right there. But
Script,
anyway,
can you also teach?
I did teach. Yeah, I taught the year after I graduated. I was hired to teach, and I did a single unit of screenwriting, which paid for my ability to go out to California and do my internship at Paramount. And yes, there's the things that I taught are the basics, the things that help you not make mistakes, and it's stuff that I cover actually on my Patreon. So there's my plug.
Yeah, so there you go. For those of you thinking of going to film school, you'd actually be better off just joining Script's Patreon, because there you'll be attended by someone that has taught at film school.
Yes, and it also doesn't require you to take out a loan to join. So
exactly, that's one benefit after the other. So head on over to Patreon, support Script Doctor there. And with that, let's move on from this super chat. I see Tom has got a new toy there.
It's the 4K collection, but Mikey, write it off.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Wait, let's see that again. Hold it up. It's
the Bourne Identity 20th anniversary. It comes with all the movies, a fun-size backpack, so a fanny pack, but a monocular, keychain with a compass, so I won't get lost, I guess, and 2 dog tags.
What a waste of money.
Actually, it was like on clearance. It was on clearance, so that's why I got it. Like, Jesus Christ. And then the other thing I got here was Highway to Heaven.
Ooh, Highway to Heaven. What are you, 94?
Michael Landon.
All right. Next super chat.
Yeah, moving on.
Some clearance crap. Hypergiver 2 sends in a $5 super chat, says Highlander does not need to have its mysteries explored. They tried that with Highlander 2. That's what I was trying to say. TV show Highlander, the source, all were disasters. Yeah, and I think with this new one, they're keeping this shit in mind. From what I've heard so far, they're keeping in mind that they want to continue the saga, but it's a new take on it, and they're future proofing themselves. It sounds like. So this doesn't sound like it's going to be a direct 1-for-1 remake of the original film, from what I'm getting at.
I'm just imagining Tom wearing that Bourne backpack and going off to school.
No way it's gonna happen. Sadie is just obsessed with the box though for some reason. Ezekiel Crow sends in $2, says my point was diversity is fake in Hollywood. Oh yeah, 100%.
Jesus Davila gives us a thumbs up. Make sure you hit that thumbs up, everybody, and thank you for subscribing. Make sure you're still subscribed. Hit the notification bell.
Absolutely. Then we got Mr. Tickle Trunk again, who sends in $2. Canadian. It says, P.S. Give us TV guide. Oh, that was meant for Paul.
He was on his way out when Mr. TT sent that.
Yeah. We got Rod Thunderheart. How you doing, my friend? Sends in Canadian 5. Says, congratulations on the 250K milestone. You deserve it. And keep entertaining us by See-Through Love. An invisible woman falls for a blind man. Sequel. There you go. Check out Rod's book.
Sorry, just supporting it.
No, you're fine. You know a lot more about it than I haven't even got a chance to crack into it yet. I have a copy. I just haven't had a chance. Olaf Venice. Oh, go ahead.
So all I can say is that Rod has been sharing some of his ideas for the sequel, and they sound really cool. So all I'm saying is I'm looking forward to when he gets that done, and he can release that to all of you guys out there that are interested.
It's gonna be awesome.
Then Olaf Venice sends in €2. Says Sadie, her own channel, Midnight's Edge After Bark. Oh, I like that. I like that. Yeah, maybe I can. I had some ideas, but she's got weird habits, so I'll have to see what I can figure out. Like I was thinking, like maybe a couple cams I could set up or something. Yeah, maybe. All right. We got Tennille, aka Dislikes Puns, who says, script, they put your likeness on Tom's box. You should sue. They did. Where?
Which box? You have like so many Blu-rays and DVDs.
On the Bourne box? Hold it up again, Tom.
Maybe that's what he meant. I don't see it.
Is that script? Oh, he's got a blue shirt on.
Maybe. A little bit. Matt Damon.
Matt Damon, yeah.
That's it.
That's it.
That's
well,
it.
Congratulations. All right. Well, thank you so much, guys. We appreciate that. We've had a wonderful 250K ride so far, and hopefully we go much higher and beyond that. Like I said, we do have some ideas we're working on. I don't know if Andre wants to elaborate on any of that as he takes us out today.
Well, we'll wait until they're a little bit closer to fruition.
I figured. But yeah. But other than that, Script Doctor, anything you want to plug?
Yeah, go check out my Scripts on Saturday show. We premiered on Saturday. It went off quite well. All things considered, we discussed a screenplay about John Madden and his time making John Madden football with EA back in the 80s.
Boom!
We talked about that screenplay. I've also got a couple of the other potential co-hosts. They're chiming in as well. Their commentary on that screenplay will be dropping later this week on my channel, so be sure to check that out. And if you are a patron already, you already have a hint as to what screenplay we'll be reviewing this Saturday. So go check that out. And if you are a patron and you sign up, leave your thoughts on the comment section of the Patreon page, and they'll be read out live on the show and discussed with myself and the co-host. We have a new co-host this week. I'm going to leave that a surprise until showtime. But it's someone whom I have streamed with before, who's friends of this channel and Midnights After Dark and a bunch of other channels. So I look forward to discussing what I think is supposed to be a comedy. Again, I'm trying to keep things as close to the chest as I can until Saturday and build that anticipation. But yeah, go check that out.
Anticipation.
Yes,
yes, on Wednesday, we're going to have a guest here, by the way. We're going to have Hogue Law, it sounds like, to talk a little bit about the Mickey Mouse business and stuff like that. So that's going to be an interesting show. So do check in on Wednesday for that. Andre 6, is there anything else I'm forgetting about we should plug? Oh, Toxic Femininity.
Yeah. And of course, we will also have more video drops as soon as they're ready, but that's going to be at least a few hours.
All right. So with that, 6, anything else?
Thank you to the mods, Mr. TT, D-Bud, Daryl, Mecha J, all the mods, Olaf. Thank you for everything you do.
Indeed.
All right. So as we got another super chat here.
Yep.
Tennille, aka Dislikes Pun, sends in 5 and says, joke was just meant to be because script is just blue shifted silhouette. Bad joke. Just woke up, best I could do. Oh, no worries, Tennille. We were trying to play along with you there, but we weren't sure what you meant. I guess mine is kind of the reversal of his. I got a blue background with a silhouette or ish, but still great artwork by Geary. Did a great job on that, actually. Oh, blue shirted, he says, with another $2. Thank you. You didn't have to correct yourself. We knew what you meant. But thank you, Tennille, for all the support, and thank you all for the support for over the years to get us here, 250K.
Indeed.
I see so many familiar faces in the chat as well. Thank you for all the support. For those who didn't send in super chats, I seen like Price of Reason and Rambams here, and so many others just saying congratulations. So I just want to say thank you to those. We do see them, and we appreciate it. Do hit that like button. If anything, that does help us here. And we got STR Red Wolf with another $2. Says coffee to Tennille. Stat. Yes, he needs some coffee. Some coffee. All right. And with that, as Andre says,
it is time for some koalas in the rain.
Fade in.
Koalas in the rain.